You're listening to Kate of Gaia on Critical Mass Radio. The game is up. Now, it's our turn.
Good evening. Welcome to Outside the Box. Wow, I've been waiting for this day for a while. It's been a while since I've had a chance to talk to this illustrious individual, and given the work that he's been doing, everyone at this table already knows who we have at this table tonight, and for that reason, I'm going to let him just roll and do his magic, and I will be opening up the mics maybe later. But you know how the table works, guys. We have the open forum every night, and when we have someone showing up at the table, like Mark Passio, the game here is for him to get the word out. Because you know me, and I've said this countless times in the past. Mark may not have heard it, but there are very few people that I can't even say welcome at the table, but there's very few people that can come to this table and offer the cutting edge reality to the degree that people like Siobhan Boehmer or Mark Passio or Bill Donahue can. So this is one of the reasons why when they're at this table, I just want them to let go and roll. Just before we... oh, there goes my phone. Just before we bring Mark in, though, I'll bring him in for sure right now, but we've been having crazy victory stories all week, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. So I thought we'd start off with a couple right out of the gate, just to set the mood for tonight in terms of the system crumbling down around its own arsehole. That's the nature of this game, and that's what we're playing here. So on that, just a couple of things that I wanted to share. First off, I bring Bindi in. I talked to her and Michael just about a half hour before the show tonight, and what I want is for Bindi to share her story from today. So, Bindi, first off, let me bring Mark in. Mark, how are you doing, my friend?
Kate, I'm doing great tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me back onto your show.
Oh, you're welcome. 7 nights a week. I already told you that. And you can ask anybody at this table, anybody that wants to show up, like you, Mark, or Siobhan, or Bill, or whatever. You come to this table, if you got things going on, use this platform as a means to catapult, and we get the word out. That's what we do here. So thank you so much for jumping at the table with us. It's just going to be a great night. I can feel it. And you're going to love Bindi's story. So there's one other one I want to share too. So okay. I shut up now. I'm just excited. Don't mind me. Go ahead, Bindi.
Hello, Kate. Hi, Mark. Just snatched this moment. Mark, thank you very much for all your work. I've just got one word for it: brilliant. And let's walk it, not just talk it. Speaking of walking it, I had a couple of talks with a police officer a while back. I think six weeks, 2 months ago, maybe already. And he was just a regular beat cop doing his thing around Central Station in Rotterdam, where I live. And I slipped one of Kate's documents about the legal name and how the name fraud works and all that, translated in Dutch into his pocket, and an English one. And I was just jovial with him. I just pointed out his star on octagon on his cap and the one on his badge, and I said, well, they're all nice and shiny, aren't they? Yeah, you're the sun too, but it doesn't matter. I hope you have a nice day. And he just forgot to find me, because that was what he was about to do. But when I ran into him for, I think, having my bicycle in the wrong place. But anyway, he forgot all about that. And this morning I received an email from him that he's he resigned not too long after I met him the first time. And this morning he emailed me that 2 of his other colleagues have left the force as well, and they're trying to get another 4 or 5 friends/colleagues out, because they totally understand the fraud now and they no longer wish to enable it, and they've opened a second-hand bike repair shop. So there's the new consciousness working for you.
Huge.
That is phenomenal. I mean, yeah. we need to hear more stories like that. That is progress as far as I'm concerned. That's what we need a lot more of going on, for sure. Great job.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk, if Amy's listening, maybe we'll get Amy, an ex-law enforcement, to pop on. I met her for the first time yesterday during the afternoon show. I do 2 shows on Tuesday. And she's ex-law enforcement, and the story that she shared was just, God, like I told her, it's about fucking time you showed up. I've been waiting for you. But here's another one. Just came in from Christian Mann on Facebook. seeing as we're going to be talking about how to dispel stuff, I'm sure. So here's the magic. Kate just ran into an ex-Australian, so not only Holland, Canada, this is the same thing around the planet. Kate just ran into an ex-Australian federal cop, had a nice chat about our work, i.e. the legal name, the birth certificate, and he totally agreed on every point. He couldn't hold eye contact with me and got very uneasy the whole way through the conversation. I gave him the attention all police agents. That's a document I've been posting that around again. And he verified everything. I know it's truth, but it was such a rush talking with him. He was honest and a joy to talk to. Just thought I'd share my experience with you. And love you, my friend. This is for everybody. And the crew who come to the Emerald Table and share your thoughts, experiences, really inspire me in every way. Thank you so much. I mean that every day. So how's that for out of the gate tonight, Mark? That should get you going.
That's really great. And this is what I really mean by doing the great work. That's what it is to do the great work, is to influence someone else's consciousness such that they are coming out of alignment with dark forces, out of alignment with opposition to natural law, and into alignment with the light, into alignment with the truth, and into alignment with natural law itself. And it is our role in this process to be the assistant of these very calcified individuals who are very rooted in ego and very rooted in identity and very rooted in identification with their job or with the roles they perform on a day-to-day basis. It's our job to step up and interface with those people to assist in that awakening process in them, which is it's very been stunted by fear. You know, their awakening is not as fast as ours, obviously. Many of them are still fully in the trance-like state of, you know, the acceptance of all kinds of propaganda put out there by the state and by the control system. So it's so important that we understand our function in performing the great work is to interface with these types of individuals. And for the people who are doing this, I absolutely commend them, because they really understand what they really need to be doing if we're going to be changing things for the positive in our lives. For people who haven't begun doing this and haven't begun putting that information out to others, all I can say is you have to understand what the real nature of the great work is, and that is to step forward with the truth, to propagate it yourself, not just to know it. Knowing it's just the beginning. That's just the very beginning part of the process. It is to communicate it to other people such that they can become aware of it to the extent that you have become aware of it. That's what great work is, and that's what's going to push consciousness forward. And I understand why it's so unpopular. People don't want to put themselves out there. Many people are somewhat timid to speak to others. Many people don't think that they'll be able to break through and reach other people. Many people are afraid what other people might think of them. They're afraid what their family might think of them. They're afraid what their friends might think of them. That kind of fear is what's going to hold this dynamic of control in place. When we shed that fear, when we step into our true empowerment, which is our ability to influence the mind of other people. You know, other people did that to us. I wasn't just awakened on my own. If other people wouldn't have put information out there for me to take into myself, you know, that I had an assistant in that process. Yes, did I awaken myself? Yes, I did. Does everybody awaken themselves? Yes, they do. But that doesn't mean we don't have assistance in that process. And that process of assistance is by putting that information out there in a clear, concise, and easy to understand way so that other people can understand it and grasp it and then take it into themselves and then go forward and do their own work and their own research for themselves. So again, I commend anybody who is doing this great work, and to those who haven't begun it, I would just make the statement, in order to consider yourself truly awake and aware, you need to be putting information out there for other people. So get to work doing that.
That's the joy of this table, because you're talking to countless tens, hundreds of thousands that are actually doing that, and I get the joyous position of sitting back and getting all of these texts coming at me all the time. And this is why it's so absolutely critically important for people like you, Mark, to come to this table and say the exact same things that we're all saying. So thank you for that. You know, and you're right. It has taken that empowerment upon self. You know, no one's going to hold your hand, but I will walk with you shoulder to shoulder. That's
right. And you know what? When you start doing that work, you will see that the universe comes to your assistance. I can't stress that enough. You will see how your own personal life will change for the better when you start putting the truth out there to other people. If you're just taking it in, and you're not sharing it back out with other people, there's an imbalance that's really taking place. It's a one-way directional flow. And in order for the universe really to give you energy and give you assistance, you need to turn that into a two-way flow. The information is still coming in, but you are outletting it and putting it back out there to other people. When you do that, the whole quality of your experience here will change, and you will see it's like the universe really wants you to succeed at that point, because that's what it wants to happen. It wants people to understand this. That's the will of creation. That's what it wants to accomplish. And when we step into that slipstream, when we step into that flow, our lives become more effortless. Our lives become more empowered. You'll see it once you start doing it. You know, I could just tell you, there's nothing to it but to do it. Start to do it, and then you will see that change organically happen in your lives. I wouldn't lie to you. I'm telling you the truth. It happens when you start doing this work. Put it out there. You will see that change happen in your personal life, and it will always be for your greater benefit and the greater benefit of all other people. There's nothing that is more rewarding.
Oh, for sure. Now, I've got Mike, another host at CMR, on the table with us tonight. So I thought for just a bit of difference, people know already. I already told you I don't ask many questions. I just let people roll. But I've already mentioned to Mike that if he wants, I know there was a couple of things that he did want to look at to jump in. So Michael, if you're there, please. I got the mic open. So rock and roll. Did I lose him? Oh, I think I just lost him. I did. All this intro stuff. Hang on. He's having some internet connection issues. So. He's dropped off the call. What I probably should do, actually, it might overload me on this end, is bring him in here. Anyway, we'll just continue on. Absolutely, Mark, and I can't agree more with. There's not enough trust in the universe. How do I want to put this? You can't trust it enough, and when you start stepping into it, I can look around at my own situation and ask a lot of questions. But my path is very particular in uncovering certain things. So for me, it is absolutely perfect, regardless of any perceived hardships or whatever, to go through, because all it did was, one, make me stronger. You're talking about assistance. Makes you stronger, make or break you. And it gave me a very unique insight from many different levels. And my joy comes when I see others finally seeing what it is we're talking about, seeing the magic, and then going, this is cool. I'm thinking, told ya. My new catchphrase, told ya. It's awesome.
It's like it's as if we give ourselves permission to shine, other people see that, and then they step into that role. They step into that empowering energy. They say, hey, this person is doing it. There's an example, and that's really the best way to show people. The best way to show people is through example, of what we can be, of what we can become. So, there's no better way of doing that but leading that process. Don't wait for orders from headquarters, as I like to say. Don't wait for somebody else to be the leader. You be the leader. You go out there and put the information that you've come to understand out there for others to also understand. It's the best advice that I can give anybody. Whenever anybody says, now that I know all this stuff, what should I really be doing? I say, find your strength. Do you like to write? Do you like to speak? Do you like to present in front of other people? Do you think you have a good radio voice, or you can run a radio show good? Or do you like to write articles? Find your strength. In whatever media. Maybe you're a good artist and you want to put this out there in an artistic way. Maybe you're great at music. There are so many strengths that people have, and you could take this information and you could roll it into any of those forms of media, and then you just put it out there for other people. You're connecting them, you reach them at a mental level, a psychological level, at an emotional level, through art, whatever, form of art or whatever written or spoken medium that you're using, presentation medium. And when we do that, we're answering a call. That's what the universe is looking for, people to be the voice of truth. That's what our goal is. That's what our job is to do here if we want to step into a different reality, if we want to end the slavery system that has been going on planet Earth for hundreds of thousands of years, and we want to really free ourselves and make this world a place where freedom thrives and flourishes, then we have to be that voice of truth. The truth doesn't have a voice on its own. Of course, it's there. It's always going to be there. It always has been there. It can't be destroyed. But that doesn't mean it can't be suppressed by the voice of deception and lies, okay? Because they're speaking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, these dark forces. We need to step into our role as being the mouthpiece, the voice of truth itself, and propagate that word, that vibration out into the universe by speaking it to other people. When we do that, there is no force that can stand against us. People also constantly ask me, I get a lot of questions, aren't you worried people are going to be coming after you? Aren't you, fearful? They're going to try to take a shot at you or something like that? Aren't you fearful that you're going to be harassed, or maybe you'll come under some kind of electronic harassment or mind control? And I'm like, absolutely not. I don't fear that ever. I go to sleep at night and I sleep like a baby. I sleep so well because I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that I'm doing what's right in exposing the darkness to the people of this world. Therefore, that is my shield of protection. I'm not concerned in the slightest bit with whatever anybody can do to me in the physical domain. Not at all. Not one bit. And it doesn't weigh on my mind whatsoever because my conscience is clear, because I know I'm stepping into my personal empowerment and I'm doing the will of creation by speaking the truth. And there is no greater shield of protection than that.
Absolutely. Had an example of that back on March 14th, where the Goonies, for the last time, I had to present all of what I've been talking about in one little, I guess about 20-minute to a half-hour segment where I was parked all by myself, my whole universe in my car, and of course no VINs in the car, expired plates. I carried no identification. I am what would be deemed a very high-profile target for the system. The list goes on. And 3 OPP, that's the Ontario Provincial Police. I ended up showing up along with a tow truck as always, and I was live on the air if you want to hear that, Mark, while I went through this. But it was within about a half an hour of them showing up till they completely dispersed without a word. They were gone. I had a little interaction with them and just told them, no, I'm not part of your dead jurisdiction. I'm actually of the living. So go and serve your masters. I'm my authority. Have a nice day. And that is exactly what you're talking about. This is about standing in your truth. And that's the only shield you have. It's the only shield you need. And I'm like you. I don't worry about chemtrails. I don't worry about smart meters or electronic interference or HARP or any of this crap. It's all fear, porn, illusion. And I know who I am, and only that which I agree can harm me can. So nothing harms me. That's the difference between a mortal meat stick and in the immortal mindset, such as yours.
This level of fear that people are still in is what's preventing them from becoming self-empowered and getting out there and sharing this information. I see it in so many people. It's a shame. I feel for them, but only themselves can break themselves out of that self-imposed prison of fear. If you know what the truth is and you know the difference between right and wrong, the objective difference between right and wrong behavior, and you're stepping into that and you're living like that, you're not only talking that, but you're walking that talk, and you live like that in every moment of your life, then there is nothing to fear. The only thing to fear is living in a vibration of immorality, of living in a vibration of wrong behavior. So I tell people who are stuck in this modality of, if I stand up, I'll stand out, and that'll be, I'll be a target. I'll be, painted like a target at that point. I tell them that's the least of your concern. The greatest concern is not doing that. I tell people I would be much more fearful of not stepping forward, of not standing up, of not speaking the truth completely unapologetically to as many other people as will receive it. I would be much more afraid of not doing that work than doing it. Doing it dispels all of that fear completely. So that's my advice to people is there's nothing to it but to do it. Step up, stand out, step into your power. You have power. You're not powerless. They say, what can one human being, what can one individual do? A whole hell of a lot. That's what one individual can do. You know, look at how much work I have out there on the internet. Look at how many people are finally sitting up and starting to pay attention. You know, I'm not saying they may fully get it at this point or it's having a huge, gigantic effect on the world, but people are starting to pay attention. They're starting to listen and hear what's being said. And they're starting to do their own research on their own as a result of what many researchers have done. Because those single individuals said, I don't care about anything that can happen to me. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to speak out. I'm going to put this information out there with no fear. And the universe will take care of the rest. That's my recommendation, what people need to do. When you do that, you're doing the true great work. You're doing the will of creation. And as I've already said, that is the shield of protection that will protect you from any of the dark forces that are out, that happen to be out there.
Oh, exactly. That's one of the reasons why I make a concerted effort to get upset if the NSA and the FBI and the CIA and the KGB and the CSIS and all these, what's the other one? What's the Israeli joke outfit? Mossad. I get pissed off if I even have a notion of thinking that they're not listening to me, because how am I supposed to plant these seeds if they're not?
That's right. You know? There you go. Hey, I say, I want them to listen in because all they can gain as a result of listening to me is wisdom. That's it. So listen all you want. All you're going to hear is wisdom coming out of my mouth if I have anything to say about it, and I do. So I'm going to continue to speak, and eventually that will sink in. They're not impenetrable when it comes to understanding the truth. If some people keep hammering on it and constantly putting the truth up in their face for them to hear, eventually even the most calcified of egos will crack under that weight of truth. You know, I know I was deep in ego. I was a black-hearted Satanist in my past, in my youth. Okay? Priest within the Church of Satan, totally and completely encased in darkness and ego. And the truth cracked through all of that. Okay? So if that can happen with me, it can happen with any soul on this planet. The depth of ego that I was in, the depth of darkness that I was in could barely even be described. People would not have wanted to know me then. That's all I can say. Well, you wouldn't have wanted to know me back then.
And Mark, that's exactly what I talk about with people in their individual walks, and that's one of the joys of having you at this table. Those that went the deepest and darkest through that which would teach them the most. Like, my game was very simple. When I started out, a whole 4 years ago, my target was Rome, London, and Washington, D.C., and for me, Rome was the darkest of dark places, so I figured, well, if I'm going to pick a target, might as well make it worth my time. And, boy, what a walk it's been. We do have Michael back, by the way, so,
sure.
Michael, I know you had a couple of things that you wanted to talk to Mark about, and Bendy, you're there as well. You're a host as well.
Oh, hi, Mark. Ooh.
Hey,
Man,
Michael, how are you tonight?
If you haven't seen my email or posts, and I understand why you're full busy. No, I don't want to say busy. You're full with the great work, brother, and I'm much appreciated. You should see my inbox in my email. You should see my Skype list on the left-hand side of my Skype. It's absolutely insane. It's great. It's great though, because that's telling me there's a lot of people that are really inquiring about a whole lot of things that I talk about, and it's great to see their interest. It's just very, very difficult for one individual to keep up with all of that communication. I try my best. So what I want to say is I started co-hosting the show with Kate a couple times a week, and then we opened up a new platform 3 days a week, 2-3 hours. We're going Gaia Sophia Dreaming, and I'm straightforward with this, brother. And if anyone asks me how you get this show, Mark Passio called me out.
That's great.
Perfect.
You know, Mark, he called us all out. He called us all, hey, I heard you, brother, and I agree with all you're saying, and I'm just so thankful that you're here and we're now. I'm
thankful that you're now doing what you're doing. That's what it's all about. So I thank you.
Work, brother. The true great work. Thank you.
That's right.
Yeah.
This fear, and let's dispel some of this, where it's still kind of surrounding, in the air, and how you were bringing it to this cosmic abandonment, how there's something attached here in a way that we need to clear. So there's no more fear we're tuning into there.
Yep, exactly what I was going to say. Let's start healing those abandonment issues, cosmic or otherwise.
Yeah, that takes a lot of deep introspection. It's a place. These dark places within our subconscious, the shadow realm, if you will, are places that many of us are very loath to go. We don't want to go there because of what kind of pain and discomfort that to disturb that material may drudge up in us. But when we do it, the reward on the other side of doing that introspective work is far outweighs whatever discomfort we had to endure to actually drudge up that subconscious material within us. So all I can tell people is the better that we understand ourselves and our subconscious motivations and desires, the more we're going to really open up to understand what's really going on all around us as well. It's the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm. As they say, as above, so below, as below, so above. If we do that work internally from a microcosmic perspective, again, the universe is going to come to our assistance and help us to understand the bigger picture in a much better way. And it's also going to empower us by releasing all of those subconscious stressors we're at work in our lives that we're not dealing with. We just let go and don't deal with. By working with that shadow material and then healing it, we're going to have a greater amount of energy in our lives. We're going to have a greater amount of clarity in our lives. We're going to have a greater amount of understanding, self-love, self-respect, and that's going to actually give us the motivation and the energy to do the true great work, to then interface with other people and start speaking the truth about the reality that we're experiencing right now collectively as a species, as humanity is right now on this planet. So to drudge up those abandonment, those nested psychological, subconscious, often abandonment issues is one of the most empowering things that we can do in our lives to help to build us up, build our character, and build our strength up for doing the work that lies ahead. Absolutely.
Oh, very cool.
Yes, this shadow we talk about, Mark, in ourselves and outside, it's no longer deep. It's at the surface for all of us to see. It's time to deal with it.
Yeah, anybody that's paying attention to the slightest bit, looking at the world around them, and it's not just, has put their head, like the proverbial ostrich in the sand. Anybody that has their head up and is just looking around and paying attention, like you said, even at the superficial or cursory level, has got to see this shadow at work and has got to see that this must have something to do with a very deep nested lack of self-love in the people who are displaying their dark sides and displaying their dark shadow through coercive behavior. We see you can't even go on, at least not on my Facebook anyway, you can't go on a social network like Facebook and not see like an endless scrolling list of police brutality stories anymore. And it's like I don't even click a lot of these things anymore because I know I'm fully aware already that this is going on, So it's like I don't even want to expose myself to more things that are going to just serve to not lead to any more knowledge, but to just make me angrier that this continues to go on, But people have to look at this initially to recognize what's going on. I don't personally recommend just staying there and doing nothing but looking at the shadow at work. What I recommend is understanding why regarding it. Where does that come from? Why are people behaving like this as a result of imbalance in the brain, as a result of imbalance in the psyche, as a result result of not doing introspection upon themselves, as a result of not looking at anything that conflicts with the status quo story or movie about life on this planet, that's being put out to us through different sources of propaganda and is being kept in place by what I call the paradigm protectors, the protectors of the political paradigm, of the scientific paradigm, of the medical paradigm, of the spiritual, so-called spiritual paradigm. These people who haven't done any of that introspective work, they're the ones who this shadow is going to rear their head and be at work in their lives, and it's going to control their lives. It's only going to consume them from the inside. They're the people we see doing all kinds of coercive and imbalanced behavior, like police, like military, like politicians, etc. And again, it's our work. It is our work because these people are so, for lack of a better term, destroyed. They are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. They are destroyed for a lack of self-understanding. We have to take this message to them. I can't tell anybody, I can't stress or emphasize enough. If we're going to reverse the police state, we have to reach the minds of the police. I mean, just think about that. Just think about that statement. If we are going to reverse the police state mechanisms that are marching forward in our lives, the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we reach the minds of the people who are performing those actions right now and get them to stop performing those actions. If we don't do that, then it's going to come to something extraordinarily dark and brutal, which is going to have to be some type of physical way of dealing with this, which no one wants to see it come to that. I think people should be as prepared for that eventuality as possible, but I'm doing everything I'm doing and have been doing is to try to avert that potentiality and to try to get this done in consciousness, So, to go back to the main point here, if we assist in that process of helping them to see the shadow side, of helping them to understand the why, the causal factors, forget the symptoms. The causal factors have to be understood. We have to go down to the why, and the why is there's a deep fear of owning personal responsibility. There's deep lack of self-respect. There's a deep lack of self-love. And ultimately, these many times, not all the time, not 100%, I'm not making a blanket statement, but a good percentage of the time, these other issues, they have their root in parental abandonment issues in some form or fashion. And like I've said on my show and on other interviews, it doesn't have to be physical abandonment of the mother or father not being present. It has to do with them not being given enough quality attention in their lives, them not being truly nurtured, them not having a supportive environment, them not having a knowledgeable environment with mentors to grow up in who do understand what's really going on, and also it could be psychological abuse at work, it could be verbal abuse, it could be, just having the whole spiritual component of the individual neglected. That's a form of abandonment. There's so many different ways that we can experience abandonment issues, parental psychological abandonment issues in our lives. And in many cases, we're not even aware of how those factors work. And they're all affecting us at a subconscious level. So until we do look into those issues and understand how they are at work in our lives, often at a subconscious level, we're not going to be seeing how they're going to be affecting our behavior, and we're certainly not going to be working toward their resolution. So this is something I feel is critically important to begin bringing up to people like this. Anybody who's a controller in some form, guaranteed, I 100% guarantee this, they have parental abandonment issues, either motherly or fatherly parental abandonment issues in some way at work in their lives, more likely than not at a subconscious level that has gone completely undealt with through their whole childhood, through their adolescent years, right into their adult years. And the only way I think people like that, who have ignored it to that extent, are going to be made aware of it, is if we, as a people who do understand how this dynamic works, start bringing this to the fore and bringing this to the attention of people and taking it off the back burner and making this an issue, an upfront issue that people need to look at and deal with and confront. Because if we don't confront the shadow ultimately steps forward and it says, you will not ignore me, and it eventually will consume us from the inside outward. And that's what we're seeing happen in all of these, left brain control-based individuals that want to think that they're in charge of other people, that they're authorities, and that they're gods here. They can't possibly be any more mistaken. But the problem is, their behavior is going to still be reflecting that level of imbalance until the internal causal factors at work in mind are dealt with and then healed. So that's our job. That is our job. We need to become like these people's psychologists, literally, because they're not seeking help. We need to put that word out there to them and become the people that help to assist in healing these people. Because if we don't do that work, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse as far as their behavior is concerned. And if people step up in mass and do this, see, that's what the real great work would be. It's people stepping up in mass and working on other people's darkness. It doesn't mean you can do it for them. As I said, I can't emphasize or stress that enough. You can assist in that process by bringing these issues to the forefront, by speaking them to other people. When they're spoken about, people are not going to just continue to ignore them. They're going to realize there's something to this. They hear it from 5 people. They hear it from 10 people. They hear it from 20 people. At some point, they're going to say, maybe this is something that is important. Maybe this is something that needs to be looked into. Maybe this is something that is going on that I need to pay attention to in my life. When we can start getting that done in mass, you're going to see rapid changes in the psyche of human beings take place, because we're going to be doing that transformative work, not only upon ourselves, but we're going to be influencing it in other people around us. And then you're going to see that effect snowball, and it's going to grow, and it's going to take on an organic energy of its own. But only if we start to do this and bring these issues to the forefront now.
Well, the good news, Mark, is it's already happening, and really I can sum up this whole thing that you're talking about in effectively just being simply a betrayed compassion that so many of us experience. We've all experienced that at some point, and that's the very tool that's used against us. And when you talk about the parental abandonment issues, that's absolutely critical, and why the system not only wants to make sure that both parents are working, they want to make sure that the kids are put into their indoctrination stations before school. You got your daycare. My ex was in daycare. It was basically just school. And then, of course, throughout the education system, to keep people in this materialistic physicality, the left brain, monkey chatter brain, as I call it. And, of course, there's going to be abandonment because with everybody being so busy, mom and dad, and then, of course, the money issues and arguments and all the rest of it that all come out of commercialism and that whole false paradigm. Yeah, what you're saying is spot on, and this is one of the reasons why consistently all I talk about is get the word out. You don't have to do anything but get the word out. Start putting your intent into these places. And this is compassion. I don't want to see the vast majority of these people working in cops and military and governments and all the rest of it are very, very compassionate people that have been duped into doing the dirty work for a master they cannot see.
Right.
And what we're doing is exactly that. This is why what we shared tonight that's normal for us. Watching the inside change, and you nailed it. We will not change anything by confronting the riot police in a protest. That's just retarded. That's childish. What we can do, however, is have enough compassion to share what we have. And that's why I write the way I do. You spoke of the things. I'm just doing the things that I know I can do, and I'm apparently fairly good at. So, and I love doing it. So right. Those are my tools, my great work, if you will. And sure. Making it easy just for others, if the words resonate with you, then send it off to the police stations, the law firms, and all the rest of it. And we have countless people doing that now, and you're absolutely right. This consciousness is shifting as a net result of that work of us getting together in a mass position versus trying to take on Babylon one-on-one. Right. Now, that game don't work.
And it all really is about love. Love is the acceptance of truth and then being a beacon for that truth. People think of love in the romantic sense. I think it was the Greeks who had it the best. They had 3 different words for love. You look at the 3 different words in ancient Greek that were used for love. You had eros, which was romantic love, right? We see that as a love between a man and a woman, husband and wife, etc. Okay? Not the kind of love I'm talking about here. When I use love, you could say all capital letters love, because we don't really have different words for it in the English language. We could put a descriptive adjective in front of it and call it romantic love, and then that creates the distinction. But in Greek, there was eros, that was romantic or physical love, passionate love. Then there was philia or philios, which meant mental love. That was like, could also be described as platonic love. It didn't have to necessarily have a physical attraction within it. It could also, when we apply that to like philosophy, that's the root of philosophy, philia, and then sophos is wisdom, the love of wisdom. Again, it's a mental love, okay? But these 2 forms of love, platonic love, which was philia, and romantic love, which was eros, are not really what I'm really talking about when I'm using the word love, all capital letters, okay? I'm talking about that 3rd modality of love that they talked about in the ancient Greek traditions, which was agape. Agape is spiritual or universal love. It's love of truth, okay? It's consciousness. It's awareness. It's stepping into the full expression of consciousness. It's the unification of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. This is what they meant by agape in Greek, okay? So this is the kind of love that stepping forward and communicating information to other people that deeply need to become aware of it. Because what their actions are doing right now are creating chaos, not only in other people's lives, but in their own lives as well. They're taking on the brunt of natural law consequences when they perform these actions. Okay? So they're causing suffering unto themselves and other people that they perform these immoral actions to. If you know how that dynamic works, step forward in communicating the dynamics of natural law to another living being is an act of love, agape love, universal love, true spiritual love, the love of truth. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about love. That can come in the form of tough love, ladies and gentlemen. People will say, well, you get kind of harsh when you talk to other people. You get very intense. Yeah, you're damn right I do, many times. Why? Because what they're doing is they're actively creating chaos through their behavior. And I'm being compassionate. I'm exercising higher universal love when I say, hey, get your head out from up your rear end and you need to stop doing that behavior. You need to look at how much chaos you're creating as a result of what you're doing because you don't have a right to behave that way. There is no right under universal law for you to be behaving in this context. And that's what people want to, nitpick about a lot of times. They want to say, you're not saying what specifically we need to do, Mark. Tell me, what do I need to do? And I answer in the same way every time. No, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. I'm going to tell you what you need to stop doing. That is the solution, ladies and gentlemen. The solution is to know what actions are wrongdoings because they are based in coercion and theft, and then to no longer engage in those actions. And no one wants to hear that. That's something that is highly unpopular. To tell people it's not about doing anything new. It's not about creating anything new. It's not about inventing something new. It's about saying, here's what the actions that are being performed right now on this earth on a day-to-day basis are. Are they within law, meaning universal, natural, moral, spiritual, cosmic law, not the laws of man? Okay? Are they right? Do you have a right to do that? Are they not based in coercion? Are they not based in the theft of something that does not belong to you? And if the answer is no, meaning if they're based in coercion and they're based in some form of theft and you don't have a right to perform them, then stop doing those actions. And when that happens, when people do that in mass, no matter what they're offered, whether they're offered a higher paycheck, whether they're offered a better car, a nicer house, a better wardrobe, a nicer place to live, a better environment, it doesn't make a difference what you're offered. If you say, it doesn't make a difference what I'm offered in the here and now, I will not engage in behavior that I don't have a right to engage in because it is coercive, because it is based in theft, then the world will be free. It will suddenly become free organically, just by the nature of not doing those actions anymore. The solution, ladies and gentlemen, lies in the negative pathway. Not the positive affirmative pathway, in saying, here's what you need to do. Now start doing this. You haven't been doing this, start doing this. It doesn't lie in that. And that's very unpopular. It's a very unpopular statement. The pathway to peace, the pathway to truth, the pathway to freedom, the pathway to higher consciousness lies in recognize what you're doing now that you have no right to do and stop doing it. And again, no one wants to hear it spoken like that because the ego hates hearing, stop doing this. The ego wants to make excuses all the time for why it has to continue, why it must continue to do this. But, what about this? What about that? What about the other thing? And a million things bombard the senses. A million things bombard the mind. A million things bombard the consciousness. And saying, my God, if I didn't do this immoral behavior, what would happen as a result of stopping, desisting in doing that? You know? And the answer is what would actually result is harmony. What would actually result would be peace. What would actually result would be true freedom. What is keeping chaos in place, what is keeping slavery in place, is all these people who believe erroneously that they must continue to do the actions that they're doing on a day-to-day basis or there would be chaos. That fear of chaos is what's keeping slavery going. They believe erroneously that by continuing to engage in violence, that somehow, in violence and propping up a slavery system, that somehow they can prevent chaos. Well, that's impossible. It's an impossibility to engage in violence and slavery as far as your behaviors are concerned and prevent chaos, because violence and slavery are chaos. They're the ultimate forms of chaos in anybody's life, in any given society. So you can't prevent chaos from occurring by continuing to engage in coercion and theft and violence and slavery. You have to stop doing those behaviors, and then there won't be any chaos. You will receive from the universe, in your desistance of those wrongful actions, order. That is what the universe will grant you. Order, peace, harmony, prosperity, and ultimately freedom. And that's the pathway to higher consciousness and freedom, is to stop doing actions that we have no right to take. So, I mean, we could break that down and say, well, people will say then, what are these actions? What are actions that I don't have a right to take? What are actions that are harmful? A very, very short list, actually. Such a short list it's almost ridiculous. You know, out of all the rights, you could ask somebody, what are all your rights? What rights do you have? What behaviors can you engage in? Because they are rights. You would be here forever trying to list them. You have an infinite number of rights. There are so many things you could possibly do without harming somebody else, okay, that are within your rights to perform, that we couldn't sit here and list them all. But so short, the list of wrong behaviors that should not be engaged in, that it's almost ridiculous. People here are like, there's going to be many other doing. I'm saying it's not all.
Does anybody have any sound at all? Hello? Wakey, wakey. Right. Really?
Hello?
Yes?
Is that you, Bendy?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, we're here, Mark.
Oh, right.
Both Kate and me got bumped.
Okay, I think Mark got bumped as well.
Oh, Mark was maybe on the line with Kate. So,
yep.
Thankfully, your mic was open.
Yeah, I just want to check, see if anybody can hear me. Of course, it was not just the echo in my head.
Yeah. So Mark is so right on, and this is something that if you tune into his natural law seminar, it's on his website.
Oh yeah.
What on earth is happening?
Absolutely. I've seen everything he's put out there, and what I just something that kept repeating in my head is, what is the one thing a abandoned child hates to hear? The word no. Every time my ego goes, no, there's the abandoned child. Right. That's how simple it is. And it's there a lot.
Well, let me give the number out. If you want to call in, it is, where is it? What is the call-in number? Somebody want to share that?
I think it's 026 and
BTR listener 026. Mark, if you're hearing it, you can put that in your Skype pad, and we'll call into the show. Otherwise, from a phone, I forget. I have it written down somewhere else. Anyhow, we're all good.
Yeah.
So Kate and Mark should be back on in a moment. Just to tune in more of what Mark was sharing about this is so what he shares. Sometimes you have to frame it into negative, what not to do, because then those are the actions you can stop, and it makes the world a difference, because you're no longer contributing to coming from fear, and contributing to harm in another.
Exactly. So it's basically the same as what we've been saying here at the table, that the still magnetic or the feminine is where it all comes from, and the energy of the masculine or electric is after that, the directive of where you direct your actions. So it starts from the magnetic or from the negative. So, yeah. Fits like a glove, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. So here's Kate.
I would start back in. It looks like we're both getting zapped here. This is too funny. Yeah, universe don't like this, does it? Well, there you are.
The old paradigm.
Yeah. They took out the electric and the magnetic, right?
So, Kate, I didn't know Mark's first three, his area code there in, I think, Philadelphia area, just in case one of us gets bumped, which mic to open.
Okay. No, I've got him in with me.
Okay, there we go.
There you are.
Am I back in?
Yeah, you're back in. Okay.
Did everyone drop, or was that just me?
You and me. I got zapped and you got zapped. I was just saying that's normal for shows like this. It's all good, man. It's perfect. Oh, I take the win out of everything. Oh, by the way, I do quote you quite often. I want to make sure I've got it at least close. It was when someone came up to you and said to you, well, Mark, I don't believe you, and you just looked at him and said, well, truth doesn't require your belief. Something along those lines. Does that work?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, I don't believe this stuff either. How's that?
I love
you either can know it or you don't know it. That's all there is to it. That's like saying, hey, Mark, I don't believe in gravity. Well, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Let me know how that works out for you.
And, well, just to continue on where you were on such a beautiful roll, talking about the stop doing the things that are wrong, the wrongdoings, the seven.
Yeah.
Go through your 7 deadly sins again. And you're right, it is really only one. Theft is what it boils down to. We talked about this last time.
Sure.
And it's still the same theft. It's theft of life, theft of whatever. So I think we bumped around, you were talking about theft, yeah.
Okay, so, I was just saying, all the wrongdoings, murder, rape, assault, rape, theft, trespass, coercion, lying, these are forms of theft. When you kill without the right, that's called murder, and that's taking someone else's life that you didn't own, that's not your property. Assault, you're taking someone else's bodily well-being within their physical vessel, the body, from them without your right. That's their body, it's not yours, so you don't have a right to harm it. Murder, assault, rape. Rape is taking someone's sexual association from them, their free will to sexually associate with whom they choose. That's not yours to take from them through coercion and violence, called rape. So you're stealing from them when you engage in a behavior like that. You're stealing their free will choice to associate with whom they will. Theft, you're taking a physical object from somebody that they happen to be using and are in lawful stewardship of. That's obvious obviously wrong. Then you have coercion. You're taking someone's free will. You're taking choice from them to, basically do what they wish to do. That you're coercing them and making them their behavior conform to your will instead of their own will. If they're not harming anybody else, you're making them do something. So that's a form of theft because you're taking someone's free will away. Then you could say, lying is a form of theft because if you're willfully lying, you're willfully withholding information from someone else, and therefore you're preventing them from making a informed decision regarding the information that you willfully withheld or gave them disinformation about. So that's a form of theft as well. So what natural law all comes down to is one negative statement: don't steal. Do not engage in a behavior that is a form of theft. If you do that, you are acting within your rights, and therefore everything will be fine. You will not have self-imposed, self-inflicted chaos and suffering in your lives and in your society. But here's the problem. So many people believe that all of these engagements of natural law wrongdoings, the transgressions against natural law, they believe erroneously that they are required, that they are necessary for us to do. This is what the indoctrination of the state, this is what the indoctrination of religious thinking, this is what the indoctrination of any type of propaganda and mind control is ultimately all about. Negative propaganda, I should say, because they're getting people to buy into this worldview, and it's largely based in social Darwinism. And social Darwinism is based in Darwinian macrobiological evolutionary theory. And this is why one of the things that it keeps coming back to for me is dispelling this notion that humanity lives according to Darwinian theory, or should live according to Darwinian theory, and that Darwinian theory is totally correct. This is the entrenched scientific religion, the scientism religion. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say scientific, because it is based in what I call scientism. Scientism is a religious belief system that props up science, quote unquote science, in the modern world as the only vehicle for the discovery of truth in the world, in existence, in the universe. And this left brain imbalanced worldview has given us a worldview regarding who we are as people who live according to the, quote, law of the jungle, or should live according to the law of the jungle. We should live like any other animal lives. And there's no delineation or distinguishing between us and other animals in the animal kingdom. And I would say there's a huge delineation between us and any other animal in the animal kingdom. And the same laws that those animals live by do not apply to human beings, and the same laws that we live by do not apply to them. And there's a simple reason. They are not at the level of complexity in consciousness that we are at. No more than those animals are at the same level of complexity in consciousness than plant life is at. No more than plant life is at the same level of complexity and consciousness that a single-celled organism is at. They are not the same. They are ultimately part of the same thing called the universe and universal energy and universal consciousness, but that doesn't mean in their individuated forms that they are the same and all of the same, quote, rules or laws applies to their behavior. So an animal is not going to be constrained to natural law in the way that a human being is going to be constrained to natural law. The quality, the thing that needs to be present, the prerequisite for a being bound by what I call natural law, the laws of morality, the laws of conscience, is they need to have a certain level of complexity in their consciousness to be able to comprehend the existence of natural law. In other words, do we have the capacity for higher intelligence? Do we have the capacity for moral intelligence, for holistic moral intelligence? And the answer when it comes to humanity is yes, Absolutely, we have that capacity. Have we developed that capacity to its full extent? No, we have not. That's why the vast majority of human beings are still immoral beings in their behavior. They have not come into true conscience. They have not come into harmony with moral law. So, going back to this idea that Darwinism is a huge plague upon people's consciousness because it's postulating that since we're no different than any other animal, the laws of morality really don't apply to the human species, to the human kingdom. We don't need to have any objective knowledge or objective standard of right and wrong behavior. We could just make that up as we go along, and whatever benefits us for our physical survival, okay, we can make that our quote-unquote laws. And this is exactly what the laws of man are based upon, an entrenched Newtonian and Darwinian quote-unquote scientific paradigm, which is nothing of the sort of when it comes to real science, okay? Because real science incorporates consciousness. Real science incorporates higher universal law. Real science will take the laws of the seen things, physical matter, and the unseen consciousness and factor them together in a balanced way. When I'm saying scientism, I'm talking about regimented, overly left-brained, overly rigidly skeptical, okay, quote-unquote science that actually encapsulates what every quality of religion encapsulates. It's essentially the same blind belief system, and it is all funded by government grant money. And therefore, what the people who are funding it want to see come out on the other end, that's what this science ultimately produces. It doesn't go where the truth leads, because if the people who are providing the money for the grant research, the grant money for the research, don't want something discovered, don't want something known about, they don't provide the funds. So how is that possibly real science if that's how we're conducting science in the modern world? It doesn't say, well, there's evidence showing this, and if we want to look further into this field of endeavor, we have to go wherever the evidence leads. That's not how modern science is done, to many people's surprise and shock. If you think that's how modern science is done, that's a very, very naive approach, and clearly you haven't really been involved in any capacity whatsoever, even as a witness of how modern science is conducted. And let me tell you something, folks. I worked in a research department in computer technical support at a major Ivy League university here on the East Coast of the United States for years. And I'm telling you, science isn't done that way. Okay? They are hinged upon grant money, and where that grant money tells them to place their attention is where they place their attention, and nowhere else. And nowhere else, because if they take their attention off of those rigidly narrowed confines that grant money specifies, it'll dry up in the snap of a fingers, and then those people will be out of a job and out of their tenure. Okay, that's how modern science works. In case you don't know. So we're not really doing any real science in the modern world. There are some cutting-edge scientists, and they'll sometimes provide their own funding or get their funding from private sources. But I'm telling you, largely, real science is drying up in the modern world, and it's being all done according to government-granted grant money, and that's no real science at all. So to go back to this idea of the Darwinian paradigm, that's in turn based on the Newtonian paradigm of reality, okay? It's been disproven for probably well over 100 years in modern scientific fields of endeavor. But unfortunately, that consciousness has not caught up to the general public because the ways that they receive information, these new scientific paradigms are being actively held back and cut off from their awareness. And that's why it's so important that we put out there, the idea is that modern scientific thought incorporates a consciousness into the equation. It incorporates natural law into the equation in many cases. People are recognizing and have recognized that there is such a thing as higher law that governs the behavioral decision-making processes that we engage in. Okay? And when we do a certain thing in the aggregate as a society, and we think that is acceptable behavior, the society receives a certain particular result in their experience, and they either go deeper into bondage, or they receive more and more freedom as a result. I call this in my natural law seminar the law of freedom. As a society aligns their behavior with the natural law rights, meaning that they don't engage in the wrongdoings that I just explained, what happens is that society in the aggregate sense, as most of the individuals behave that way in accordance with natural law, and they don't engage in these immoral behaviors, okay, as an aggregate, as a whole, the society becomes more free. So I just put this down as a simple fundamental law in a mathematical equation. Morality is proportional to freedom. As morality increases, freedom increases. As morality declines, freedom declines. Conversely, as immorality in a society increases and people continue to do those natural law transgressions more and more, you go into deeper states of bondage and slavery. So as immorality increases, slavery increases. As immorality declines, slavery declines, and freedom rises. It's a simple universal law that works the same way any other law of dynamics works. It's just a matter of people to open up their eyes and realize there are laws that govern the unseen realm of consciousness and behavior just as well as there are laws that govern physical matter. And they can be tested with the same methodologies. The true scientific methodology applies. It's called make a hypothesis, do your observation, test the hypothesis, and then publish your results. It's the same scientific methodology that any other law of dynamics or physical law can be observed and corroborated through. So it requires no belief, just as you said at the top of this section. It doesn't require any belief on anybody's part. The understanding of natural law is not a religion. The understanding of natural law is not a belief system. The understanding of natural law is a true science. It is a science of spirit. It is a science of consciousness. It is a science of how higher universal moral laws work in the universe that we are all bound by and that we can never, never change. These laws are immutable and they exist at all times, at all places in the universe. And the problem is, this is why humanity is in the state that it is at. So few people have discovered the working operations of these moral laws and are actively aligning their behavior to them at all times and places. We have so many people that are continuously performing behaviors in opposition to moral law, to universal natural law, cosmic spiritual law, that the whole society in the aggregate is going deeper and deeper and deeper into bondage as a result of our ignorance and living in opposition to these laws.
Absolutely. One of the things that you've used the word quite a bit, and just to show people the equal and opposite nature of that very word science. Well, it means spirit. Ent or ents means mind or minds. So what we have is a word that is being used to describe a physical law aspect, as in physics, etc., where it's actually the spirit mind. So it's an equal and opposite. Science, to study the physical, when translated through phonics, it means the spirit minds. And they're doing completely the opposite. So you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a statistical fact that the more police that show up in a city, the more crime goes up. That's how they generate business, and it's that immorality that you're speaking of. And the more immoral the individuals that get hired, of course it's going to go up. And that's why you're seeing such a rash of, as you were saying at the top of the show, you can't go anywhere on the web without seeing story after story of police brutality. But that's what you get when you have these organizations that are feeding into this shadow, the ones that are running it, right? Not the ones that are working, the ones that are running it. That's exactly the effect they want, and it increases the immorality, and the crimes go up. It's exactly that.
And they don't even care if the actual immorality is increasing. They'll make rights illegal.
They
and
make
say that now they're suddenly immoral.
Yeah, they make
you want to drum up some business. That's all these people do. They think they could change morality to immorality with the stroke of a pen. And this is what people have to understand. You could never change a right behavior and a wrong behavior. You ask try to ask a politician or somebody that really believes in man's law, okay, how in the United States, okay, in the 1920s, did the consumption and production of alcoholic beverages go from being a moral act that was not punished by law, by man's law, to becoming illegal and therefore considered immoral, and you could be thrown in a cage for imbibing alcohol or making it. Then, suddenly, if that law was recognized as not working out and then it was repealed, how could it then go to being moral behavior again? Can the same behavior engaged in by the same people go from being moral to immoral back to moral again? Is that possible in nature? It doesn't make a difference what man thinks. Either an act is moral in nature because the taking of it did not result to harm to another living being, or that act is immoral in nature because in the physical taking of that behavior, another living being was harmed. It is either one way or the other way. There are no shades of gray. This is the other thing. People think that morality has all these different shades of gray. It does not. Either harm resulted or harm did not result in the taking of that behavior. If harm resulted, it's immoral. If harm did not result, it's moral, and you have a right to engage in it. And that's it. Doesn't make a difference if you even find that behavior loathsome or distasteful. Well, that's your judgment upon it. That is your preconceived notion. That is your like or whim or preference. That doesn't mean that it's moral or immoral. Okay? It's moral or immoral if coercion is involved. Okay? If coercion is either not involved or involved, respectively, okay? So it's moral if there's no coercion involved, and it's immoral if there's coercion involved. In other words, the only question people need to ask when it comes to understanding a right from a wrong, when you want to ask yourself, is the behavior I'm performing right? Okay? You ask yourself this: in respect to another being, the action that I'm doing, do I own this thing and have a right to do it to that thing? That's it, that person or thing. Okay? So, we could look at a situation where you're trying to tell somebody the truth. All right? Do you have a right to engage in that? Well, sure you do, whether they even want to hear it or not. Okay? Now, if they tell you, I no wish to talk to you, and I'm in my lair here, and I want you to leave, then you should leave, because you have no right to remain there if they just told you they don't want you there. But, if you're out in open territory and you want to talk to somebody and you want to say something to them, that's your right. If they don't want to hear it, they can stop listening or go somewhere else. When I'm around other people who don't understand the truth, and I'm engaging them in conversation, I'm going to speak the truth regardless of whether they want to hear it or not. And if we're in a place where, it's neutral ground, I'll continue to speak the truth even if it becomes an uncomfortable situation. Okay? And if they want to leave, they're free to get up and leave. But I'm also free to speak the truth in that instance. Okay?
You too, huh?
Yes, speaking it isn't going to harm anybody else. Speaking the truth can only help them to stop doing harm and to have harm stop happening to them, and have self-inflicted suffering stop being imposed upon them through their wrongful actions. Okay? So, but let's say somebody else is engaged in open speech on the street. Let's say they have some flyers, and somebody comes over and says, well, I'm going to slap these flyers out of your hand, or I'm going to physically make you stop speaking or engaging other people with that information. That isn't their right to do that. That's coercive behavior. You're stopping someone from performing a natural right of communicating with information to somebody else. And therefore, is that your right to take away from them? Or does that right belong to them inherently? Of course it belongs to them inherently. Nobody has a right to stop someone from doing something like that. Even if I didn't like what they were saying. Even if I didn't like it. Look, if a KKK member in the United States, who I happen to personally think are idiots because they have, extreme racial belief systems, okay, and they fall into a total divide and conquer strategy when it comes to their fellow human beings, but, okay, they don't like particular races, right? If they had literature that was reflective of those belief systems and they want to hand them out, somebody else doesn't have a right to come and stop them from handing out that behavior, that information. Handing out information, even if it's completely wrong, if it's completely nonsensical and doesn't really make sense, is their right to do so. They have a right to speech. They have a right to engagement in information, even if it's not correct information. Okay? So the whole point is, you don't have a right to stop them from doing that. Okay, even if you don't like it. If you don't like it, you know how you combat it? You put the truth out there. And you say, here's some information about why racism is utterly ridiculous and childish and moronic. And here's why you shouldn't engage in that type of behavior and speech, because, you're much more intelligent and higher consciousness human being when you understand that, that kind of race baiting is all about a divide and conquer strategy to keep human beings separated so that they're easier to conquer and rule, So that's the best way to combat that. You don't take away their natural right to speak, even though it's coming from a low place of consciousness. And that's the only thing that has to be asked. Here's another example. Somebody wants to a heroin needle in their arm and inject heroin into their body. Okay? The question that needs to be asked is, whose body is it? Is it my body? Tell somebody else what they must or must not do with it? No. I can put information out there and say, hey, that's probably a really bad idea. It will mess up your brain. It also will at some point harm the physiology if you stay chronically engaged in it long enough. Okay? I think it's a bad idea. It destroys motivation. It makes you a person that's just basically going to give up on themselves, if you abuse that long enough. And, here's the reasons why I think you shouldn't engage in that. And that you could give them information. It's called educating someone instead of trying to control them physically. Now, if I went and said, no, you cannot do that to your own body, and I'm going to physically prevent you from doing that, or I'm going to put you in a cage to make sure you can't do that, is that my right? That's not my right, because that's not my body. That person has every right to put, as an adult, what they want to put into their body, because it's their property. The only question that needs to be asked is this my property? That's it. All rights come down to property, and it's understanding. Do you understand what you have a right to own? Do you understand that which you do not own? And yes, there is such a thing as ownership, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get swayed into right-brain forms of imbalance either, thinking there's no such thing as valid property. There is such a thing as valid property. It doesn't mean you own something eternally or you own all of it. These are total extremes that are nonsensical, okay? I own this phone in front of me right now. Why? Because I acquired it lawfully, I'm currently using it, and I'm responsible for it. My information is on it. It is mine. It belongs to me. I have a valid right to use it in the way I'm using it. I'm not harming anybody as a result of how I acquired it or how I'm using it. Therefore, it belongs to me lawfully, under natural law. Can I own it forever? No, the phone will not work forever. Eventually, it'll disintegrate back into dust at some point, just as I will. I can't own my body eternally. It's not the kind of ownership I'm talking about. If you want to call it temporary stewardship while incarnated in the physical vessel, fine. You want to split hairs like that, it sounds kind of strange, but call it that, okay? I'm in stewardship of this phone. I'm in stewardship of this computer, this microphone, this screen, this shirt that I have on. I am lawfully in possession of them. Therefore, for all intents and purposes, I own them, okay? We're not talking about eternal ownership. And we're not talking about, like, I'm going to own all water in the whole state of New York, or I'm going to own all water in England or something like that. That's not ownership either, because you're not using it and you're preventing other people that do need access to it from using it. Okay? So we need to understand the distinction between proper ownership, rightful ownership, and wrongful claims of ownership. Okay? So when it comes to ownership of the body, it's an absolute claim. I own my body. No one else owns my body, okay? And I don't own anybody else's body. So therefore, I can't tell you what you can and can't do with your body as long as you're harming no one else, okay? Else is the key word there. You want to do, see, why can you harm your car? You buy a car. Can you do harm to your car? Can you go in with a knife or a razor blade and just scratch up all, the whole dashboard? Or take it and take a knife and rip through all the upholstery in the car? Yeah, you want to know why? It's your car. You paid for it. You acquired it lawfully. You're using it. It's in your possession. You're responsible for it. And if you want to take a knife as the sole owner of that car and tear up the interior of it, that's your property. So if you want to harm to your own physical vessel, you want to take garden snips and cut your little finger off, cut your little toe off, okay? It's a stupid thing to do. Probably wouldn't be a good thing. It wouldn't feel good, and you'd be in a lot of pain for a while if you didn't bleed out, okay? But if you want to do that, that's your body. That's your property. You have the right to do that to yourself because that doesn't belong to anybody else. It belongs to you. It belongs to you. Your body belongs to you. Any claim on that body is a claim of ownership. So if I say, you can't put orange juice into your body, imagine if I said that to another person. People would go through the roof, you know. You may not eat any bananas from here forward ever in your life. Don't dare consume another carrot or I'm coming after you to put you in a cage. Well, how is that any different than me telling someone you can't possess marijuana, you can't possess cannabis and put that inside your body? How is that any different from me saying you can possess an LSD tablet and take that and put it in your mouth and trip on LSD? Okay? It's a claim of ownership on the body, which is, do I own that thing or not? So if I said to someone else as an individual, you may not take that brownie that has been baked with cannabis in it and consume it. I'm determining that that's off limits for your consumption as an adult. Okay? Would I have any right in that claim? Is there any right there? Is that a lawful claim?
Hey, Mark.
Because, yes.
I just want to jump in here for a sec because you're nailing a lot of stuff here. One of the things, and it is exactly what you're saying with regards to I own, or I don't own the body, I just kind of walk around in it, but whatever. The simple point is that's what the system did to everybody by getting a spiritual consent, because all things registered are crown property, which renders the spirit slave to the dark master, if you will. And it was a very devious little trap. This is where I really bring in the ethereal side of it. And you're absolutely right. In the real sense, in natural law, the things that you have gathered up are, as far as whatever you're playing with, again, not using, but or not owning, you're actually just using it for an indeterminate amount of time. And what the system has done has papered over the entire natural law with this man-made stuff,
right,
and using cosmic law, and stayed in honor doing it, because if you agree to something, you're in contract with it. And that's why I tell people, the biggest thing for me was when I realized that everything attached to the legal name was pure, utter fraud. That's where I go back to what you said earlier. It says, it's not what you're doing that is creating the harm, it's what you need to stop doing that's creating the harm. So as soon as that hit with me, like the bank mortgages and all the rest of it, knowing that they were all fraud, I could not, in good conscience, ever play in that game again. Now, just before we go on here, just let you know we got 35 minutes until the rollover. I don't know how much time you have tonight, because I can do up to an hour of rollover once we go off the air into the recording, so it's still part of the whole show. If you're into that, I'd love to have you. Because I know I've got a few... For this evening, I think I will have to stop at about 9 p.m., but if we want to pick it up in a future show, I'd definitely be down for that. Anytime, you just let me know what day works for you, and this table is wide open for you. I know there's a few people that do want... We got, like I said, a little over half an hour for you then. Sure. To ask a few questions. And absolutely. Paul is here. He's got some... he's right up your alley. Again... So I just want to get people in if they want to ask questions. So that's why I want to know how much time you had. So I'm going to shut up now and see where Paul is at. Do I have him on? Yes. Paul, I know you've got a couple of things you wanted to bring up with Mark, very pertinent items. So please, go ahead. Yeah, hi, Mark. Yeah, I would like to know I would like to know what you think about the use of phonics in occult and courts. The use of occult. I didn't hear the first word. Ceremony. I'm sorry, I missed the first word that you said there. What do I think about? Phonics. Phonics. The use of phonics in courts, and also the use of magic in the courts. Sure. These are definitely magical systems that these dark occultists are using against us because we don't know the meaning of words. And they're definitely using words against human beings. But see, I take a kind of a different approach when it comes to even giving any validity whatsoever to any of the court systems or to this idea of contract law. It's like saying, if I say to someone else, or even write down on a piece of paper, I am your slave,
Could that make it true in nature? Could that make it true in objective reality? Okay? In the perceived, subjective perceptions between individuals, someone might say, he just agreed to be my slave by signing this piece of paper. But does that actually make it true in nature? See, what I'm trying to say to people is, I don't care a bit about whether they think that some card I possess or some piece of paper that has a signature on it makes me their slave. I'm fundamentally telling you that's inherently illegitimate at all times and places, and nothing could ever make that true, ever. I don't care whether there's a piece of paper with 1,000,000 signatures on it. I don't care if every single living human being on this planet and in every other planet throughout all of creation agrees that I'm their slave. I'm still not your slave. How about that for sovereignty? That's the level of sovereignty people have to get to, the level of the understanding of sovereignty. It doesn't make a difference what it says on a piece of paper. It doesn't make a difference what a court system claims. We are not your slaves, the end. And what you're going to have to do is kill us to prove that we're your slaves. And then guess what? We won't be your slaves. And you know what? I'm willing to be killed or to kill to prove I'm not somebody else's slave. That's what, and there I just said it. That's what it really comes down to, ladies and gentlemen.
Game on.
I'm not your slave. Period. The end. That's it. You don't need to sign a thing. You don't need to do a thing. I'm telling you, slavery is inherently illegitimate in all of nature, forever, and always has been. The problem is the human mind still hasn't recognized that in its fullness, in the aggregate consciousness of humanity. When it does, it's not about going in any court system, filing any paperwork, asking anybody for a damn thing. It's about saying, I'm not your goddamn slave. Now try to make me your slave and see what happens. That's the level of consciousness we need to get to. You know? And when everybody's at that level of intensity, you will be completely free. Because it won't make a difference what weaponry they could bring against you. It won't make a difference. There's nothing anybody can do to me to somehow get me to agree that they legitimately have any claim over me. Want to know why? I don't harm anybody else. I don't harm other living people. The end. And as long as I'm not harming other individuals, nobody can do anything to constrain my behavior. And if they do try to do that, the right exists to stop them from doing it, by whatever amount of force is required to stop them from doing it. And I understand that gets into hairy territory, because then you're saying, is there enough support for that behavior? Because if you take that forceful action, are other people going to come to your defense? Are other people going to support the initial person who is coming with aggression and coercion? Or are they going to support the person who's actually behaving within their rights? And I think we're going to find out right here in the United States. I think this is where it's going to begin. I think this is where that true stand is going to be made. You know, I think it's going to start right. I think it already is starting right here.
Well, I'll tell you that the toughest stand I've made, and this is where I've often said to people that talk about their freedom and whatnot, and they've asked me questions like, well, how do you travel with a passport, and how do you do this, and how do you do that? And I just tell them quite simply, well, there's the level of your slavery, because those are the control mechanisms. Try passing through customs without some form of identification, and people see immediately the level of control they're at. That's why I carry nothing at all. And I go back to my experience taking my dad's ashes back to Ireland, where I called the British High Consulate, and they confirmed this. And I got a passport, not because I wanted one, but because I had to be able to get past their uneducated Goonies. And this was basically the conversation I had with Page, the gentleman at the High Consulate, and I had to travel to Ottawa in the flesh to get that passport. It took about 20 minutes to get it. But this is the point I'm making. When people think they're free, and a lot of people at this table are walking this talk in that, no plates on the car, no ID, nothing. And, of course, the sheriffs and police or whatever just kind of brush past them. But it's because they know who they are, And when people want to understand the true level of slavery, just the easiest way to check it is have a look in your wallet. And you tell me, who's a slave to what system. And I've called the system the Whore of Babylon for a long time. But, it's just me. But, Paul, I know you want something about Gosia or something.
Yeah, I seen a lot. I had a little look at some of Mark's stuff, and I noticed this WOEIH.
That's just an acronym for What on Earth is Happening.
Oh right, yeah, because I've noticed a couple of videos on YouTube. I don't know if it was yourself who did them, Mark, about the Goetia.
I briefly may have discussed it in one of my podcasts or radio interviews, and it's essentially a form of ancient magic that involves spirit summoning.
Yeah. Well, I was saying to Kate today, I was noticing that there's been a certain friction between the certain orders, like the Rosicrucian Order and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, seem to be having quite an open fight just now over each other's so-called magic. But I would like to ask you what you think about the use of the OTO, or the Ordo Temple Orientis Order.
I think as with all...
We actually do use the Goetia along with other Lemingtons, I think they're called, in use of summoning angels and demons.
Right. As with all earthly lodge systems or systems of occultism, I recommend people to study them and to look into their knowledge. But as far as getting involved with them, I personally don't recommend it, because there is, again, whenever there's groupthink involved and there's group dynamics within a particular belief system or a particular system of practice, you're always going to get regimentation and you're always going to get collectivist type think, which is why I say, if you want to learn about Freemasonry, or you want to learn about Rosicrucianism, or you want to learn about Thelemic philosophy, you don't need to go into the lodge system to understand these things. You need to delve into the information that is already freely available online, and believe me, it's all freely available online. And you could study it and understand it in depth, in quite a bit of depth, on your own, and initiate yourself into these traditions, and also not even go into one, but cross-compare, in a comparative sense, all of these traditions, and see what is the seed of truth they all share in common. And when you look at them, they all of them contain essentially the same seed of truth, which is what is going to be required to make humanity truly free. And that is a deep understanding of natural law. You look into the Kabbalistic tradition, the Kabbalistic tradition is all about teaching people natural law and really what morality is about. Now in the modern day, do all Kabbalistic schools teach that? No. Freemasonry, the original intent of the teachings of esoteric Freemasonry from the ancient lodge systems, was about teaching people the difference between right and wrong. It was a system of morality communicated through allegory and ritual.
Process of correction. Okay. It was process of correction.
Natural law.
Yeah, making yourself the perfect actual of the perfect. Yeah.
Ashlar, yes.
Yeah, that's
doing that on the ground, to climb the ladder of consciousness. It borrows a lot of symbolism from the Kabbalistic tradition as well. Rosicrucianism is the same thing. To deeply understand the true golden rule: do not do to others what you would not want done to yourself. That's it. That's the negative variation of the golden rule. Okay, all of these traditions share the same core teachings of truth. And it all comes down to, we have to understand in nature what our rights are, because we know what our property is, versus what our rights are not, because these are things we can't do to somebody else's property. And when we talk about these court systems, and we talk about these, dark lodge systems, the sorcerers of consciousness, if you will, the powers that should be, all they care about is what they can get done through violence. That's it. That makes every single thing they do inherently illegitimate. And what needs to be done is forgetting it. See, I don't want to have to spend one single iota of energy or time on them. When they're saying you have to prove this, and this to me, I don't need to prove anything to you. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I have natural rights granted to me by the Creator. The end. That's it. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time proving this or that to somebody else. What's that doing? That's them making a demand on your time. Well, I'm not willing to accept a demand on my time. I don't want to stay here talking to you, you ignorant fool. You have no right to even keep me here for a second longer than I want to be here, because that second belongs to me. That is my life. That is my energy. And see, this is why really it all comes down to one thing. We're not willing to do what's required to put down other people's violence. That's it. That's why humanity is in the situation that it's in, ladies and gentlemen. We've let violence go unaccosted in our world, unchallenged. And now violent people are ruling over us. And we still think we don't have a right to end that situation. I do think the best way to spend your time is to morally educate people so that they don't become people that engage in violent behavior. But at some point, when they have refused all the lessons of nonviolence, I think the self-defense principle becomes the only recourse. Because I don't need to defend my rights to anybody else. My rights already exist. They need to be exercised. And then, if somebody tries to tell me that they can't be exercised, they should be physically defended against. And there should be a body of people assembling and physically defending against that encroachment against somebody else's natural rights. And we're going to get there. We're going to get to that place. This is what more and more people are going to come to understand. And they're going to start taking physical action in the world to put down the behaviors of violent people. Because we have every right to do that. Somebody comes up to you on the street and mugs you at knife point, you have every right to physically put down that individual. You don't know where they're going to stop. Are they going to just try to stab you in the hand or in the leg? Or are they going to tear through your torso and all your internal organs and leave you dead in the street? You know, the physical inherent principle of self-defense needs to be fully understood. That's why firearms are one of the most important thing that anybody can understand.
Yeah,
the inherent right to own and use firearms.
Well,
it's never going to take in this country. Let me tell you something, folks.
Hey, Mark, we only got 20 minutes here.
Old-time paradigm.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here real quick. So we only got 20 minutes, and I know I've got Darren just chimed in, and I've got Bob that wants to jump in here for a sec. But one of the things that I've been stressing all along, once you know who you are, none of these old paradigm things are required, because you literally...
They don't know who they are.
Well,
that's not the problem. And if there's not enough people doing the work, then that very well may become a necessity. And we have to be streetwise about that.
Oh no, I'm not negating that. What I am saying is it will not be necessary, because we're already seeing the effects of this Red Sea parting, and they are falling. I totally agree. If a dog is rabid, it just needs put down, and that's what we're doing on the spiritual realms.
I hope that we have enough numbers to do that.
It takes one.
I fully share the confidence that our numbers are there yet. It is growing. It is growing.
Mark.
We need to press forward growth for sure, and I don't want to see it come to that. But what I'm saying is that it's so important to recognize the necessity of being able to keep that capacity present.
Oh, absolutely.
They're never going to get the firearms of the people in the United States of America. It's not going to happen. I'm just telling that out there, right out in the open. You'll never get that done.
Well, it's funny, because here in Canada, it's like per capita, Canadians own more weapons than anyone else in the world. It's funny as hell. You know, here's the supposed peacekeepers. But Darren, I know Darren wanted in to ask you some stuff, and I know Bob wants in as well. So I'm gonna. Darren's mic is open, and it's going to check for Bob here, and it's just background noise I don't want to have while people are asking questions of you. Darren, go ahead, my friend. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mark. That's wonderful. But when you change that energy within your emotional body around what you see that has to happen, and find that inner peace for yourself in your own space and hold that space of love for yourself, the charge won't be there. The truth of your inner grin, your inner peace, where it lies. That's what we do out here at the table. That's why I'm at the table. Knowledge, awareness, knowledge and awareness.
I'm always in that internal space, for sure. The point that I'm trying to make here is we need to understand both the non-aggression principle and the self-defense principle in their fullness. Because if somebody comes at you with coercion, then you have a right to put that coercion down. And I think that's where more people are going to come to. And that's going to make these aggressors think twice about coming for the natural rights of other people. You know, if you just think about it, what would have all the people who were oppressed in the Nazi regime, you know, if they would have taken a different approach when it came to standing up physically against this aggression, these aggressors, would that have gotten anywhere? Would that have gone?
I heard stories. Men had their daughters threatened with rape, their sons beaten, their families, friends. It was forceful to create a Nazi party.
Yeah, because they didn't stand up to it. They didn't stand up to that aggression with the proper defensive use of force. If the people of Germany would have stood up...
Brother, I tell you what, when we enter defense, we become the prey.
I disagree. Only when we enter aggression do we become people who are going against natural law and get consumed by it. Aggression and defense are two completely different things. Defense is a right. Aggression is never a right. When we respond to an aggression with defense, we are standing within right and truth, even if it is physical defense. I think we need to stand up and defend truth.
Could I jump in here?
Needs no defense.
Could I jump in here, please?
This is a new age. There's a new age deception right there, that the truth never needs to be defended. I suggest watching my
You speak truth. You stand in truth.
Truth is constantly under attack and does need us to come to its defense. It is continuously under attack by lies and deception. And the reason that continues to go unabated largely is because we're not, as a whole people, coming to the defense of truth. Again, truth will exist. Insofar as at a universal sense, it doesn't need to be defended because it's going to exist whether we exist or not. I understand and I agree. But in our lives, if we don't come to the defense of truth when it is under attack, we are going to suffer the consequences of not doing so. And that's where we're at. That's what we find ourselves in. We're in the place that we're in because we've been too passive. We've allowed all these lies and deceptions to pile up to such an extent that we have not come to its defense. And we've let it be under attack and bombardment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year without defending it.
Well, Mark, that's one of the reasons why I'm on 7 nights a week, because like you said at the beginning of the show, these dark aspects are at it 7 days a week, and so am I. And the
problem is we're doing that work, but so few others are doing that work.
It only takes a few of us, Mark. This is the thing, and I'm watching the paradigm shift from my little laptop. And
we need your inner grin.
We need more people.
Hey, Kate, can I share something?
Oh, yeah, hang on a sec. Bob, jump in.
Yeah, sorry, mate. We've got about a 4-second time delay here. Just like to say good day, Mark, and
how are you?
Namaste. And I'm good. I have my inner peace. I know who I am. I am sovereign, and I'm content in that. And a lot of what you said today has resonated with me, but my own perception of what's going on globally and through humanity is there is a shift. People are finding their own truth, and people are becoming happy in their own truth and realizing that other people's truths are different. So globally, we as a species are getting to that place of acceptance where vive la difference, the difference. And just from my own being in my own local community, when I challenged these little fake figures of authority, just in a discussion with them, because I'm speaking my truth, and I'll say to them, I can understand where you're coming from, but just listen to what I've said. Listen with your heart, and then come back to me. So, and I've seen it so many times with people on a one-to-one basis when they are trying to be authoritarian and just expressing my truth. There's a seed of doubt sown, and they take that away with them. And for me, that every time I do that, that's a success, because I've put a crack in their false reality. So that's where I'm at, Mark. And I just know, like Kate, from all the shows that I get into, for me, I notice it, I feel it, I sense it, and I'm just wrapped, because there is a beautiful outcome, for me. It's happening right now, and it's been happening for a while. So thank you for allowing me to share, and it was nice to connect with you, Mark. And
sure.
Yeah, have a blissful life, my friend. Have a blissful life. It's nice
you're gonna
to talk to other people who really know who they are.
Yeah, you're gonna be getting a lot of things coming onto the site from this table. I mean, we talk about your work and others quite regularly. But I just want to remind people we got about 12 minutes left here. Mark has to roll out at 9, so I just want to, if you guys have questions or whatever, I just make them brief, and I can bring everybody in. And there you go. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I want to share, because I know right where Mark is at, and because I follow what he says, and I listen, and I also know Mark is all about the love. He's passionate about sharing the truth, which we all should be. And what he's expressing is, on a spiritual level, you have to stand. And whatever fear comes your way, you don't just, go away from me, please, or I don't see you. No, you stand up and you tell it to get going. And that's what he's sharing on a physical level. If it comes, we're not trying to manifest any of this in the physical level. We're showing you where it's on a mental level you have to be to go, I ain't part of that game.
Go ahead, bring a gun into the equation and tell me you're in a place of peace.
There isn't a...
Yes, it is. Absolutely. I tell people that every time I show a picture of me practicing with my battle rifle. Okay? Every time I put a video or a slide of that in one of my presentations, I tell them, you are looking at a man of total peace wielding that battle rifle. Absolutely.
Yeah, I carry my automatic highly. I carry it in, and I use it only as a last resort, because the spiritual warrior only goes to battle as a last resort, and they choose that battle.
Right, and that is a warrior fighting because he knows he's in the right, not because anybody's giving him a command. He's not following anybody's orders. He's standing in truth and righteousness.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know that's
the idea against guns, this new age idea against guns and not having a spiritual application is a deep deception that really, really needs to be challenged. Because you let them take that away. That is your last line of defense against the dark forces of this world. And that's why they haven't gotten it done in the United States, and they're never going to get it done in the United States. As many other places in the world as they've got that done.
Mark, hang on, guys. There is no debating that. Hang on, guys, please. Okay, there's no debating that. That, to me, is still the old paradigm. The whole game here is to get rid of all guns, right? And while the notion of people owning them is still there, that's what's keeping them at bay. So I totally get that. Again, here for my philosophy,
what would be your defensive way of dealing with somebody who came at you with physical violence?
The same thing I did when a cop shoved a gun in my face.
You're putting out there dualistic manifestation. Don't go there.
Hang on, guys. I'll tell you what happened, Mark. I lived it.
That's like saying because I want it to be, there's never going to be anybody that's going to conduct violence against another person. And
no.
A gun is an equalizer against somebody else's violence.
Okay, I was really hoping the show didn't get into this stuff, but anyway.
You'd be willing to allow to allow that to continue unaccosted, then.
No, that is strictly a physicality mode of operation. Right. When one
so what if they had a gun?
Well, they did. That's what I was trying to tell you.
No, but I'm talking about somebody who was willing to use that gun to do whatever they wanted to. They stopped short of doing that.
Mark, this cop was quite ready to do what he wanted to do, but the smile on my face and my whole attitude of saying, "Go ahead, pull the trigger, asshole." The only thing I was worried about was making sure that my nails looked good. That was the first thing I said to him. I said, well, at least I did my nails tonight.
Well, if anybody thinks that Nazis were going to be defeated
again, Mark, that's like
without weapons.
I get that. That's 70 years ago, though, and I understand
these people were in many cases worse than Nazis are now.
Agreed. I'm not disagreeing with it. My philosophy is simple. In order to take out a serial killer, you have to be able to think like one, not act like one. And
exactly. Be one, not just walk.
The ultimate way to stop a violent person is to morally educate them when they're young so that they never become that violent person.
We don't need to morally educate. It's part of our intrinsic knowledge that we're all remembering. That's dualistic thinking again, Mark. I love you, but there's a shift that needs...
A child doesn't
I don't want to say needs to occur.
A child doesn't come into the world inherently moral or immoral.
It is, me too, Michael. I love you.
Knowledge has to be infused into a person.
No, it's part of our essence. Our divine mind, all collective consciousness. We do not own or possess our mind and what we speak intrinsically, privately. That's bullshit.
This is the notion that human nature is inherently good. Many people have the notion that human nature is inherently bad. The nature of a human being is that it is programmable through information, and whether that information is positive, that conduces knowledge.
Epigenetics, exactly.
Right.
Epigenetics.
That's not what you're saying when you're saying our nature or our essence is just inherently divine.
No, what you believe you create. So what you're programmed to by our social conditioning and social engineering, most of the masses have passed that off and not analyzed it. But they're doing that right now, and we're all here because we've already done it.
Okay,
and
guys,
Michael was right. Michael was right.
Guys, I need to jump in here. I actually need to be a radio host for a second. We're about a little over 5 minutes to roll over. Just letting you know, Mark, it's almost 9 o'clock.
Sure.
For those that are interested, I'm going to roll over for a little bit. That way I can at least get some comments from people that haven't been able to get in here. But
I just want to ask the previous commenter, have you seen my natural law seminar regarding how the law of attraction as put forward about beliefs, just forming, our reality, versus how an entire society in the aggregate is forming what we are experiencing in the society, how that dynamic actually works, because it's in stark contrast to this new age variant of the law of attraction, which you seem to, at least to me, to be espousing. I don't know if you've seen that seminar.
Yes, Mark, the answer is yes. I've seen your work, and I admire it, and I beg to differ with certain parts of it. I think our higher vision is aligned, though. So, honor you.
Guys? Sweethearts, relax. We're all circling around the same mark. We're using different words to say the same thing. Yes, there is a difference between passive or aggressive, defensive or aggressive or violence. Everybody gets this. But in the end, I'm not going to tolerate a world where any violence is needed. That is the end and net result. That we're not there yet, and maybe there will be instances where it, in the last resort, may be needed. I will allow. But in the end,
once again, you say where violence is needed. What you're talking about is defensive force being needed, and that's not violence.
Here, darling.
This is where the distinction between violence and force needs to come in.
Yeah, but that is what we are doing.
Really made that distinction.
Only a temporary now. At the moment, it might be needed, but in the end, it's not. Nature has control. We can only steward our relationship with nature. So
exactly.
In the end, one is just control.
Let me ask you a question. What the revolutionaries in America did with the British, was that not within their right?
Don't even analyze it from that angle. It's a ridiculous question.
Can I ask a question, please, Mark? Well, I'd like to ask. Look what Gandhi did with Britain. Peaceful.
Yeah.
The salt marches. The saw, Mark,
Gandhi was a tool.
Please, can I speak to this?
I disagree that Gandhi's methods were very effective because India still ended up in total oppressive control, as every other nation has.
No, but could I speak, please, Mark? That was a moral victory for Gandhi. It showed the world that violence really, it just ensues more violence, as Mao Zedong says, or what you would call Chairman Mao. He says it, he put it greatly. He says a revolution is a bloody act. So when you're speaking about guns, you're speaking about a bloody act, mate. Right?
It's called a healing crisis.
The first method that should be employed is to change consciousness.
Very polite, you know, and I live in quite a violent country, Scotland. It's very small, but it's not guns here. There's no guns here, but it was very violent. And I could really tell you that there's even a lot of people in Scotland would say, we don't want guns. Why do you want the hassle, even thinking that there's somebody else is armed? This is when it comes back to Taoism, my friends. You've read the Tao.
Does your standing army
you're arming yourself against a potential army what doesn't really exist. It's only in your mind that these people that are going to harm you. Well, as you say, is inherent law. Most people are good; they're not going to harm you, but because of you.
That's not what the keeping and bearing of firearms is necessarily for.
It's like
let Mark have a chance.
Lousy said.
Yeah, let's have Mark have a chance, please.
You need to really understand at a deeper level about what the keeping and bearing of firearms is for. I recommend going to my shows that I did on the importance of the Second Amendment in the United States Constitution. Not that I, accept the Constitution as any kind of law, but the concept, the idea that was put forward in the Second Amendment. If you go back to my podcasts on that, there's a whole lot of information about why that was so embodied at that time, because they understood that's the last line of defense against tyranny, and it should never be given up, even if you deplore its usage. You think I want to even think about anything regarding weaponry or firearms or anything else? No. I'm a peaceful human being that wants peace to reign. But the point is if I don't maintain the right of the capacity for self-defense while other people are coming with aggression, then I'm actually doing a disservice both to myself, my own right, and those who come after me as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed.
I got a simple question.
Sure.
Any guns you have, are they registered?
Registration is not required for long arms in the United States.
Well, again, it's the whole concept I'm after here, Mark. That's the thing about registration. They actually changed that up here in Canada as well. And, of course, I did all the training for that. But this is what I'm going to tell everybody. Anyone that has a registered firearm at all, I don't care what it is, it doesn't belong to them.
Yeah, registration is the pathway to eventual confiscation, because what you're doing is you're giving up the stewardship of that weapon to the state when you register.
Well, it's already given as soon as it's registered, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Signing a contract.
Yeah, again, it's all about that. Well, listen, I think we're just about we just rolled into recording. I was just going to do the shout out to let people know what to call in at, but no worries. And by all means, Mark, hang out as long as you want here. Because I'm just going to get. It depends how much time you have.
I could stay another 5 minutes or so, and then I will have to go. If you want me to take a couple more questions, I'm willing to do that.
Sure.
I want to say I enjoy the conversation and I enjoy all the differing points of view. So keep it up.
Well, you live up to the passion. You just got to add an N to your name, and it's beautiful. The mark of passion. I love it.
It's what my name means in Italian. The name actually in Italian means passion.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome.
There you go. And now I've got Maggie in here. Let me just get the lines open. Now, guys, don't jump all over Mark, please. Let's keep it concise, because you only have a few minutes.
Promise.
Okay. So Maggie, you got Maggie, you got the floor for a second. Please keep it brief. You there, Maggie?
Oh, come on.
Okay. Well, I got the mic open. Okay, Ouija.
Mark, thank you so much. I learned so much from your lectures, and I'm more in the creative feminine way. But I want to ask you something. Have you read the works of Jung, or what do you think about the approach of Jung in the broader sense?
I like his work, and I think that he was trying to express that we have to go in and deal with the shadow material and make the darkness conscious, not just, again, it was an active approach. It wasn't a passive approach. It was saying you have to take information other people. You have to go into the areas where you don't want, you're loath to go. That's a very active approach. It's not a feminine approach. It's a masculine approach to consciousness. Yeah. And that's why I like his work a lot. And I'm not saying, I favor the masculine over the feminine. I think they need to be perfectly balanced in a sacred union, in a blending. And that's what I think is lacking in so many people. In the dominators, the feminine is lacking. The compassion and care and nurturing and creative essence. But then in people who won't stand up for their rights in the physical world, I think the masculine is somewhat lacking. And while they understand the non-aggression principle, the understanding of the other pillar of enlightenment, the self-defense principle, is somewhat on the wane. So I think we need to strive ever for greater levels of balance between those forces. And I do feel that Jung was very good at providing a balance like that. But I think that he really also advocated for really going into the subconscious mind and dredging up that shadow material and working with the shadow, working with the dark material, which is a very, again, it's a pathway that is very unliked. It is not popular. It is something that people are loath to do, which is why so few people are doing that process of self-transformative alchemy. Yes.
Yes. And can I have another question? And what do you think about the feminine rising? And can you elaborate a little bit on this? Because I see a lot of this, like the feminine, but within the feminine there's masculinity, and I think we need this, women standing up and men as well. But I agree.
I think that there is a imbalance in the feminine force that is rising when it comes to New Age approaches, New Age religion. I don't think that's a balanced feminine approach.
No, that's
What's that?
The New Age. No, I totally understand your New Age deception shit. It's really, really good.
And I think there's a lack of the true sacred feminine coming up when it comes to people who are still in these control-based environments. I mean, if you see the area that I'm in, I recognize I can't say the entire world is just as I look out my window. But if you look at a neighborhood in a major city in the United States, it is so out of control when it comes to the control mechanism that we might as well be living in the middle of the Soviet Union, of the communist Soviet Union, circa the late 1950s. That's how bad it is in the city of Philadelphia, at least. Okay? And I would suggest it's even worse in the city of New York, and it's even worse in Washington, D.C., and it's even worse in Los Angeles. Okay? And this is the birthplace of this country, where the seminal ideas of true natural freedom were born in this country. So, if it's that bad here, I don't know whether that's them attacking this place even more than other places, or whether, it's just I may be seeing things darker than other people, or maybe they just have it better and they're living in a better area of the world than I am. But I'm telling you, I don't see the feminine on the rise in this area. No. I see people who think they're God. I see people who want to own other people. I see people who follow orders blindly because they hate themselves so much that they're willing to do anything they're commanded to do.
Okay, but one question:
person.
Where did this freedman who totally fucked up Latin America came from?
I'm not sure who you're referring to.
Well, I think the economic hitman, these kind of stories, it all came from the USA, and it came from the UK. It came from the UK. It's also a cover-up.
John Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, is that who you're referring to?
Yes.
That is definitely the sacred. That is definitely the masculine mind out of control, the ego out of control, and he was just a henchman for that force. Then he finally, recognized that what he was doing was wrong, and conscience was born, and he started exposing it. Very similar process of what happened to me. The people at darkest depths often can see the light with the greatest clarity once they come around. Yes. So, you look at my situation as a Satanist and waking up to the truth of control system. Maybe it took for me my level of ego to go down to that depth to understand, truth and the difference between right and wrong in its fullness. Same with a person like John Perkins. But again, we can't make the mistake of thinking that just because a small group of people are coming on to the truth that we're already there. It's going to take a concerted effort on our part to bring the truth. We have to bring it into the heart of the darkness. That's what Jung was talking about when he said, make the darkness conscious. We have to take the truth to the people who are doing these immoral behaviors. We need to take the truth to the controllers within the system, to the military and the police, until we can get them to back down. This is why I say to people, you want to know when I'll admit that a real spiritual awakening is happening? I will admit that a real, true, mass spiritual awakening is happening in human beings when police are quitting their jobs in such mass numbers, not one or two here at a time, and that's great that that's beginning to happen. But I'll say a true awakening is happening in this world when police and military are quitting their jobs in such massive numbers that the media has to come forward and say these organizations are hurting and their survival is in jeopardy, these institutions, because we cannot find anyone to go into and do these jobs. That's when I'll tell you that a mass awakening is happening.
That's your threshold. Yeah, that's
Hang on, guys. Hang on. Whoa. Can we bring it down a little bit? This is not a debate. It's a discussion. Okay, let's get it simple here. Let's look at the Russian Kiev thing. The militaries refused to fight, and they were walking in solidarity with the people. But you don't see that on mainstream because, we don't own mainstream right now, but it's okay. We're taking it over. Yes, every avalanche begins with a snowball, and that snowball is already rolling down the hill. We got some noise in the background, guys. Please mute out. Okay. Anyway, so again, the shifts are happening. I'm seeing it in full-blown Technicolor every single day, and it's growing exponentially. So whether it's being seen in the mainstream, that's one thing. It won't be, because this revolution will not be televised. That's up to us to make sure that So are the revolution, and
we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Yeah, exactly. It's about uncovering the deceptions that have held us in spiritual slavery, and like we've covered so many times, the actual name curse goes right back to the Narmer Palette, the original curse that has held the spiritual bondage of man, where the consciousness literally got trapped in the illusion or concept of external value called gold or silver, whatever, it doesn't matter. But
heaven, yeah.
Yeah, that being said, I was going to do a shout-out before we rolled over. I just wanted to say thanks to Paul Giovanni and the crew at criticalmassradio.co.uk for the platform and everything else. So I do have a couple more people in here, Mark.
I'll take one more question before I go.
Okay.
May I jump in, sweetie? It's Lisa.
Have you asked Lisa, go ahead.
Thank you. Mark, as I said earlier, I am also another Rainbow Warrior, and I really admire your work, and I've been sharing it profusely, and as well as my own and everyone else who's here. And I love what Michael approached you with and the goddess that approached you with before earlier. So I want to pull you there. I have no dictation about what is the absolute truth. I only know mine. And while I resonate everything with what you're speaking, we are here to bring heaven to earth and bring the 3D mentality manifest with our higher God self. And you're practicing that right now. And I understand. And I've made a lot of videos about the things you've spoken. But what I do want to share with you is that while I listen to you and your passion, and I carry all the same energy you do, I want to remind you wholeheartedly and lovingly from unity, consciousness, and love, and not separation or reflection or judgment, that it's imperative that we manifest and ground these opposites within ourselves. And while I agree with everything you said, that made my own version of a video of Sandy Hook about being able to have our rights to weapons, I personally, in that comment, and still state, we don't need them. If you own your sovereignty and yourself as you're projecting, You do not need a weapon. Our tongue, which is somehow verbalized and viewed by the masses who are asleep as a weapon, is meant to be a gift to deliver us to our divine sovereignty and our presence and owning and claiming all our rights, which is divine. And everything you're talking about tonight, I also am a spiritual. I don't need to promote myself or do any of this. I don't care. I'm Lisa here, not what I am online. But I love you. I love everyone here. I'm done. I love everyone here. I specifically want to give a shout-out to Michael in Hawaii and say mahalo loa nui. And I want to say yo to Kate Starr. Arthur says hi, and we love you, and I'm going to just pass on. Thank you.
It would be a beautiful reality if we didn't actually require self-defensive weaponry. That's not the reality that we're living in right now, however.
That's the goal.
It's just not manifest yet. It's already there energetically.
Yep. Okay.
It's already there energetically. It's just not manifest yet. It's coming. After April 29th,
the problem becomes in the now, the situation is not that. You know, the situation. In other words, it's like saying,
moment is manifest by our control of our consciousness.
Before the first floor is built. You can't have the 10th floor of a building before the first floor is built. And I would say...
but you're still stuck in old paradigm thinking. Our now consciousness, now present moment, our belief manifests now. Drop that shit.
Paradigm when it comes to the right of self-defense. The right of self-defense is eternal. It's eternal. It's going to be there if every being is enlightened. What do you think? Enlightened beings throughout the universe don't have the ability to defend themselves and keep that ability? You know? What about when they encounter a civilization that...
I am one, and I don't perceive the options you need to protect myself.
And I'm telling you, it's a very right-brained approach. You need to understand...
They don't... Sorry, I'm spiritual rainbow warrior, goddess of the light. I wholeheartedly know.
Well, I hope you never encounter a psychopath with an AR-15 then, because your ability to speak the truth to them is not going to stop those 2 to 3 bullets. So I wish you the best of luck with that situation, though, in the now. But that's all I'm going to have time to engage in for this evening. Is the host still there? Is Kate still there?
Yeah, as soon as I figure out... Fine.
I'm hearing music playing.
Someone's got a phone. Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
No worries. So I was going to say, for people who want to check out more into my work and in the blending of the sacred masculine and feminine and understanding the 2 pillars of enlightenment, namely the non-aggression principle combined with the self-defense principle, my recommendation is my website, whatonearthishappening.com, and you go to the video section, and people should check out the Natural Law Seminar, which is the first 3 videos on the video section. I feel it presents a very balanced approach to what enlightenment really is all about, what the real laws of attraction deal with, as opposed to the New Age variants of the laws of attraction. And I think it presents, again, the idea of one's head should certainly be in the stars and the cosmos, but unless we have our feet on the ground, we don't have that anchoring and rooting into what we need to do here in the physical world, which should not have any emphasis taken off of it. So for those who want to learn more about those principles, I highly recommend you go and watch my Natural Law Seminar. It's also available on YouTube if you just type in Mark Passio Natural Law Seminar. But if you want to check out my website, it's whatonearthishappening.com. I also have a big seminar coming up it's called Streetwise Spirituality. It's coming up in about a month at the end of May 31st in St. Louis, Missouri. More information right there on the homepage of my website. You can click the banner, and if you're in the St. Louis area or if you want to travel out to St. Louis to hear me speak, I'll be giving an all-day seminar about what real enlightenment, real streetwise spirituality is all about right here in the now, on the ground here on Earth. That's coming up May 31st. My website, once again, whatonearthishappening.com. And Kate, I want to thank you so much again for inviting me onto your show. Very great, lively discussion. A lot of different points of view going back and forth, and I really appreciate everybody's input.
All good, Mark, and that's what the table's about. It's about, opening up cans of worms that sometimes we don't want to open, and that's what it means to go looking at the shadows. So, and again, it's always about balanced discussion, balanced energies, and things can get a little hairy. It was fun. Thank you so much, my friend. Table is always open for you. So,
thanks so much.
You know that. You know how to get me on Skype, so anytime, my friend, just give me a heads up, and don't worry, I'll bug you from time to time if you forget anyway.
Very much appreciated. Thanks so much, Kate.
All right, Mark. Much love, my friend, and we'll continue on the table here for a little bit. What do we got? 45 minutes here, so we'll hash it out and we'll roll it on here. But Mark, anything else you want to add before you run off?
I want to say that without stepping into our true physical empowerment, in addition to spiritual empowerment, mental empowerment, emotional empowerment, psychological empowerment, there's still a component missing. This isn't about freedom on just all of those other levels and lacking freedom in the physical domain. We can't put the spiritual above the physical or the physical above the spiritual. We have to understand they are all completely integrated and are ultimately one, and we need to be free, both in spirit, in mind, and in body. So I'll leave on that note, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
Again, Mark, thank you so much. And we'll get these mics open
again. Can I jump in, please? I really want to, and I'm sorry to be rude.
In 1 second, you can. I've had people jumping in all night, but I just wanted to let Mark know it's all clear. We'll see you soon, my friend. Take care.
Absolutely. Anytime you want to do it again, Kate, just give me a call.
Always.
You got it.
Love
Take
you,
good care.
Thank you.
You too. Okay. Goodbye.
I just wanted to get him before he dropped off. That's all.
Okay, that I understand, guys.
Get him on Friday night on his own show. He does his podcast every Friday.
No, I get this, and I wanted to do a JV partnership, a joint venture where we connect our energies to share our message, not in competition, but in.
No, there's no competition here.
I know that. That's why I'm here, and I'm so happy to see him here.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just got off Skype with Arthur, and trust me, this is beautiful. Because my presentation, and I don't care about promoting myself in any way or whatever, I just know I came to speak my truth, as you did, Kate, and I love you, and you and I have some work to do, but we'll discuss that privately. And
what was that?
I said, you and I have some work to do, but we'll discuss that privately. It's work.
Oh, whatever. It's on the air. Throw it out. What do you need?
No, I know. I love you. Remember the last time? Well, can I first address the thing with Mark quickly, and then we can come back to that?
Sure.
Take 2 seconds. Thanks, Lovey. I wanted to honor Mark because I've seen his work, and I've been sharing him profusely, and I love his message. And I didn't want him to think that any of my questions were doing anything to disbelieve him, but make him and allow him to prove his truth more while he was speaking.
You know what you forgot to say, actually? Just take a mirror and fucking look in the mirror for everyone.
Exactly, Trickstar. I honored you and called you. I love what you
said. Guys, I'm going to remind you again, please. I understand. Get the egos in fucking check. Please.
Okay, no problem. Right here. Let's go back to the other.
See, there it goes again. Mindless babble. How about okay?
I said okay. I said let's go back to the fun thing.
Right. So let's just get back to a nice open table here and have let's have a grown-up discussion without everybody jumping on everybody's head. That would be really cool.
There.
I know, that was what was happening for the last little bit, and it went back and forth, and I just sat back, hands in the air, going, here we fucking go again.
Okay, and that's part of what everybody. I was saying, though, Kate. Remember?
Right.
When we last interacted, you said something that was kind of, let's just say, elemental for me, and I asked you a question, and you said that you didn't want to be on air anymore because of what I said. And I felt intrinsically...
Okay, well, hang on a second. You're saying things. I'm on the air 7 nights a week, hon. I talk to hundreds of people every week. I have thousands of conversations. Can you please refresh me and everyone's memory as to what that was? Because you remember better than I.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry to be that way. I'm like you, Kate, and I have so much going on. I juggle and I forget.
Can I say something very nice here about astrology I found out? Recently, because we entered this Tauran time, and I tried practice different stuff I've learned, and it was actually working, and I'm thinking it's springtime. Everyone is taking steps out from where they came yesterday, which was the past, and it's over.
Exactly.
And it's just blooming all over, and all these women who is not female but is by the system brought up to be male in their left brain.
Okay, can we cover up some... tell you what, guys.
Can I go back to Kate? I appreciate what you're saying, sister, but Kate, can you and I go back to our conversation?
Okay, guys, I am going to end this fucking call, okay?
Don't do that. You're backing out again. You're chickening out on me calling you to the plate with me.
Okay, one second. Do I need to mute you?
I'm doing it. Everybody else outside the group said I called you and you bailed.
I have
Come on, come to the plate, sister. Look in your mirror with me. I love you.
I am fucking waiting for you to open your mouth, so spit it out. Fuck's sake. That's what I'm getting at because it's getting interrupted. I'm waiting to hear it. So take your ego,
what would you like me to speak?
And
hey, Lisa, sorry, this is Lisa, yes?
Yeah, and I love you, and I honored you earlier, sister. Please, I want to hear your feedback before I address our loving sister Kate.
I'm muting everybody out right now. What number? You're on 774, right? No, shut the fuck up, child. Stop assuming ego things when I'm trying to say I want to close everybody except your fucking mic so that I can actually hear what you're saying without people jumping in. Safi? Thank you, Michael. Michael's already done it. Okay, now, I don't know. It was 7. I think Lisa was on 774. Is that you, Lisa? Have I got you? Okay.
Yeah, you got me, sweetie.
Okay, do you understand where I'm coming from now? So take your fucking accusatory...
No, I only stepped in about a third into your equivalent tonight because all my thoughts...
Okay, I got this thing about finishing my sentences before people jump all over it with an ego again. So, Lisa, we're going to get on terms here. Very calm, very passive, very equal terms. I'm going to say something and finish, and then you're going to say something and finish, and we're going to play that game back and forth like grown-ups. Now I'm going to open your mic up, and we're going to play the game that way. Okay. Your mic is open. Let's take it easy. What is on your mind?
I want you to go first. I feel you have the need. And if you don't, I will take the mic.
I was actually waiting for you, hon. What is it that you wanted to apparently confront me with? So please, I asked you.
Okay,
10 minutes ago
absolutely. I wanted to confront you because the way that we met was so synchronistic and amazing, and I connected with you, and I plugged in on a few of your shows, and you kind of triggered me in one way the first time, and then a couple other times I triggered you, and blah, blah, blah. But what it came down to is the last time I was on air, I asked you a question, and that question was that even though we can actually see all the beauty and the intrinsic fucking beyond amazingness that's ineffable and indescribable in words as far as seeing the big picture, which I know you do, and I love you and know your heart intrinsically, even after having met you. I know you from a past life before we ever connected. I stated on your site, on the question, you were trying to make fun of me saying I needed to wear diapers, and I said I would piss myself and gladly drink it, and I wouldn't be shamed or guilted. And you turned it into almost trying to make fun of me publicly in front of everybody, to make fun of me, like, because you were playing with my ego. And my ego is my servant of my higher self. And prior to that, I would have seen that as an attack But now I see it as...
One question, Lisa, before we go any further.
Yeah.
It's went into a very long, drawn-out ego statement.
Well,
Did I mention?
Arcturian.
Hang on. Did I mention your name? Did I mention your name one-on-one? Because I know I didn't.
Yes, you did. And you actually, my question to you that triggered you was I said, Kate Starr, actually, I said, why is it okay to see the beauty of everything you're sharing with everybody if you don't have the attachment to your heart to manifest it? And why are you attacking me as a mirror of what you can't view in yourself? And you said, this is exactly why I don't want to be on the air anymore, and then you ended. And it was perfect because you had said when you had to leave, and you politely left the show. And I actually haven't come back on your show since, but I have been brought into a secret Skype group that's sovereign with Arthur Kovarinsky, who is your friend, who you were staying at with. And I only accidentally met him the next day through a friend who's been an extreme dear love of mine for 4 years and an activist on Facebook who put me in the group. And now Arthur and I are dear friends. And you had just moved out of his house. So there was all these really interesting synchronicities, but I didn't want to challenge you. All I saw by that reaction is that you and I had some stuff to work out. And I have no judgment on what it is, but I know I love you, and I loved you the second I met you, and all my friends told me about you and me and how much we're alike, and I'd like to do that publicly to mirror how we literally do this work that Mark was professing on air for everyone else. So let's be honest, sweetie. It's all you.
Oh, okay. Is it okay to talk now?
Heaven, yeah.
Okay. One, I know thousands of people, and to be perfectly blunt, perfectly honest, I know that you know a few people that I know, but I know nothing about you.
But you were the one who friended me. I didn't find you, and everyone was asking me before that if I knew of you, trying to tell me to connect with you, and then I saw your friend request on Facebook, and I have 5,000 friends and 1,000 followers, so it's so rare that I even get a request. And you were the one seeking me out.
Can you do me a favor, please?
Yes.
Can we have a conversation instead of it being one-sided, please? Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I apologize. It is a challenge for me. I apologize.
Yeah, obviously. It's okay. It's okay. Just get a grip on it.
I own it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's
okay.
Sweetie.
That's okay.
I do love you.
See? I can't get a fucking word in. All right. Can I answer now? All right.
Heaven, yeah.
I don't want to... Okay, I'm going to answer. That's just... Hang on. I'm meeting you out because people like to jump in, and I won't actually give that a name, but here it is in a nutshell. One, the chances of me sending out a friend request to you is very, very unlikely because when I did do that in the past, I would get blocked for 7 to 14 days. So whether it was a suggestion that came to me that I might have clicked on, but I did not actively look for you, I do not actively look for anyone. It's just the way it is with me. I've been blocked too many times by sending, way back, this is like over a year ago when I was started up on Facebook, didn't know the ropes, and I'd sent requests to people that I actually knew, and Facebook blocked me. So I made and I've got lots of text to people saying that I will not...
Understood. Understood completely. But, sweetie, you just friended me a month ago.
That I will not actively go and send something out. And it really, honestly, hon, it is fucking irrelevant. What is it that has your goat?
I have no goat with you. What I do is love you, and I feel your...
I ain't feeling it, Oh, you're feeling
I know, because it's shadow work.
Right.
I work in shadow work. No, my gift is shadow work.
Yes, I remember you now. You were trying to psychoanalyze me that night, if I recall. Okay, I'm going to keep muting you so I can actually finish a sentence, and then I'll open you up again. If this is how it's going to be, I'll just do it this way, hon. So we can have a civil conversation, or not. It's up to you.
This is fucking beautiful. He's got me muted. He's ranting on me.
He? Sorry? What? I didn't have you.
I thought I was muted. I was telling my friend what was going on because I thought I was muted.
Well, tell your friend I mute you because you don't know when to fucking shut up and let me actually say something without being...
He will tell you the same thing, but he will tell you if you honor me and set the parameters, I will shut up. And I am going to shut up. I want to listen to you, Kate.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do, because I want to get to the root of what's showing up for us. I love you, and I see our challenge as a...
Okay, there we go. Psychoanalyzer again. I'm going to mute you until I can actually answer some of the things you're saying, because you're spewing out a lot of stuff with the hopes of me not being able to say so. I got people sitting around me right now that are laughing at this, and I'm laughing too. Okay, so let's just try to have a civil conversation. See, that's me being quiet to allow you to talk. Now I'm going to open your mic.
I have no issue with that. I have no control over anybody's perception of me. All I know is that you and I have some work to do, and it was clearly aligned with me the first time we met and interacted. And I'm not trying to profess that you were searching me out or any of that, but you were the one who sent me a friend request, and friends had already talked to me about Kate Gaia, and I had no idea of who you were. And it had to do with Sasha Stone and also Bill, I'm sorry, I can't find the name right now, but the guy that we love who does all the work and videos on Kundalini and the Bible.
Bill Donahue. I'm going to open up all the mics.
Bill Donahue. But everybody was telling us we needed to meet, and I didn't know who you were.
Shut up, Lisa! Fuck you. Dramatic fuck shit.
Seeing as I can't get a word in sideways, I might as well let everybody else in. So there you go, guys. Have at it, because I'm pretty much done with it.
A lot of people
I'll shut up.
And shut up about I love you, fuck shit, weet je wel. Ugh, fuck off. Just tell your fucking story and don't give me all this fucking bullshit.
I have a question.
Hey, the floor's open. I'm just sitting here with a broom. Knock yourselves out, guys.
Can you hear? Can everybody hear me?
Hi. Yeah, I'm here on the cross. Suck me.
All mics.
All I hear is a bunch of fucking programmed females acting something male talk about fighting, about struggling for area, about putting each other down, about being something quite a male-like, as I see it as a woman, because it's about destroying, it's about killing, it's about no seeds at all, no seeing at all, no being at all, just, the blah, blah, and we have to get this out and become...
Hello, Kate?
I'm just sitting here. It's all good. I'm just going to let everybody else do their thing here, because you should see the posts that I'm getting on Skype right now, guys, and it's exactly what I'm telling. It's out of control egos here. So I'm
hello, Kate.
I'm here.
Kate, this is Amy. Hi.
Amy, oh my God, how are you? Oh my God.
I am good. I've been trying to get in. How are you? How's everyone at the table tonight?
No, I have Amy, hang on. What I want to know is did you call in on a number or Skype?
I called in on a number.
Okay, I just need the area code so I know that when you show up, your mic will get open, because you're one that I need to have talking all the time. What's your area code?
It's 661. Oh, what area code am I calling from?
Yeah.
253.
Okay, I got you. I see your number. Okay, hon. I'm actually going to put that in my cell phone so I have reference, so I don't have to remember it. I know who it is. The first number is 2, yes? 2532?
Yes.
Blank. Yes. Okay, good. Carry on,
3,
Amy.
5.
No, I don't. You don't need to say it. I just want to know which one it is. I got it.
Yes.
So please jump in here.
I have so much to say. First of all, Kate, and to everyone sitting at the table, I would like to say, I just would like to remind people that there are those of us that are new at the table. There are those of us that are brand new at the table, and we are so hungry. And we are so desirous of a better way, of answers. It is quite disturbing to me, and I can feel it among everyone at this table, when people call in and make issues, personal issues with Kate.
our business. I am not interested in anyone else's personal issues with Kate. When I race home to get to this table, people go through extreme to get to this table. And they tune into this table from their job place during their breaks. We don't go through that to hear this bullshit, personal, drunk ass, whatever people's states of minds are. Sit back and listen if you're high. I don't care. I don't care about your personal. We would not have this table. The issue at hand here is we had a guest at the table tonight upon invitation from us all. It was going along beautifully until the issue of gun control came up. And Mark Passio is a passionate person, and we all know that. I don't know what his charts are, but he sees what a lot of us, I think, are blind to, and that is that, yes, a lot of us did fall for that new ager and love, and yet we allowed so much to happen and to take place of us because in this world because of that, because we felt like love is going to cure it all. What Mark is trying to say is that along with that love is a principled love. Are you going to allow somebody to come into your house at night and rape your wife and your children? No, you're not going to do that. However, we have a premise, it seems to me, already established at this table. When guests are invited to this table, we already have a stand. We don't compromise our stand. I am an expert marksman, 14 years on SWAT. I'm the man to call when you want to get him. So what I say to you is today, I don't carry a gun. I don't believe in guns. I believe that guns kill people. We don't hunt for food anymore, so why would we have guns? We will not win this situation because I will not call it a war. This is a peaceful, loving, I think about in the days, what is this thing, my children, the Grinch that stole Christmas. I don't believe in that Christmas shit, never did. However, the Who's were able to, with one song, they kept singing, and it brought the Grinch to his knees, I do believe. Now, that was a long time ago that my children had these things on television. But I don't believe this is not a blood fest. They are prepared for that. They are prepared for guns. We can't outgun these people. This will never be resolved with weaponry. And this is, I think, a wonderful, wonderful opportunity that we all have to see that everything that we've tried thus far has not been the answer. And in times past, people bring up the French Revolution and all of that. But things have changed. They have kinds of warfare now you cannot imagine. You cannot do this way. It has to be what we're doing here at this table. It has to be holding the focus. It has to be knowing that even though we invite people to our table, when they come, when we don't agree with them, we don't attack our guests and devour them. We hear what parts we eat. In 12-step, they have a saying, take what you need and leave the rest. So we don't devour people when they come to our homes and we don't agree with something that they have to say. I think that was most unkind to Mark. I think that from henceforth, we should know that we don't have to agree with everyone that eats from our table, and neither they with us. The thing is that we're sitting at the same table, though. Mark is very passionate and believes very much. I'm not familiar with his work, but I've felt that man's passion. And I do know his name has been passed around quite a bit in the 4 to 6 months that I've been sitting at this table. So I do know that he's someone that's respected at the table. And to attack him because we don't agree when he turned to war. Those new ones that are tuning in to hear us, they will listen to our position, and they will hear our position, and they will reason if they're reasonable as to that. But I don't believe in guns. It's not the way. It's not the answer. Unless you're going to hunt and kill something to eat, which I don't think that we should anymore, but that's none of my business what other people eat. But I don't believe that weaponry is what we need. I don't.
Exactly.
That's not the answer here.
Amy, I want to thank you. No, there's more to come, hon. I can hear it in your voice. I just want to really reinforce what you just said there, which is the voice of reason. No, I don't. I am completely abhorrent to guns of any kind, hunting or otherwise. However, at this table, everyone gets an opportunity to share what they have in order for the grown-ups to see the contrast of what they would do or what they wouldn't do. And then, once we make that choice, and only then can we make our stand in our truth, which is our law, and that is what holds the dominant frequency. So this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to get into it. Again, when Mark had said something, all I did was to talk about registered guns. It's not owned, and that just wipes out most of everything there. Plus, if someone wants to claim that they're not a slave, well, then try crossing a border without a passport, and you'll see just how much of a slave to the system humanity has got. And that's why I have absolutely refused to be any part of that. So, Amy, again, thank you so much for being that voice of reason. And this is all I'm asking people to do. Whether you agree with someone or not is irrelevant. If you don't agree, then bring up the point that counters it without debating. So, okay, well, that's great. Try this and see. Look at that perspective, because you're not going to get there screaming and hammering at people, and I'll bring Fluffy to the table anytime. And thank you. I had an opportunity to go, hey, come on, there's a party, let's play. And she came out, and it's like, there we go. Okay, ego to ego, and it's all good. And then she's sitting down, chewing on someone's leg she got. I don't know, whatever. But thank you for being that voice of reason. And yes, this table is cherished to me. I cherish this time with all of you. This is our only stable point as far as I'm concerned, where we can get together, and when it goes off in these little diatribes, that's just pointless. Go talk to Alex Jones. He loves doing that shit. I don't. I'm done with that. I stopped doing that a while back. But boy, I got to tell you, the comments that were coming in at me, I tell you, and it's all good, and we're all on the same page here. There's no point in wasting time. We've done enough of that. And again, Amy, for your stand and what you have been through, like I said to you on Tuesday, about fucking time you showed up. We've been waiting for you, hon. And of course, another 3 showed up from Holland today, right, Bindi?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
You see, so that's how we win this game.
Yeah. Time to stop the violence, indeed. Turn it around. I think that is the true proof of paradigm or whatever shift's happening. It is to restore peacefulness, because we know it is self-rewarding while doing something else is self-destructive. I mean, it's that simple.
It is. It's so simple. It's mind-numbingly simple. And we're not going to get there screaming at each other. And we're not going to get there, well, I need to resolve this personal issue. I don't give a fuck. I don't.
And a gun is human law, so end of. There it's just cancelled. A gun is human law, not natural law. So it is not the place.
There was 3 armed, and I will call them Goonies till they do what Amy does, and then they become the most honorable, perfect beings in the universe to me. But I tell you, there were 3 armed Goonies hovering around my car on March 14th, and I'm sitting there with expired tags, a pretty high-profile target in the system if you think about it, maybe, The same weekend Dean Clifford gets grabbed. I was talking on the Saturday. He gets grabbed on the Sunday. Oh, yeah, why didn't they show up Saturday? Because they couldn't. And this is what I'm talking about. And it's about getting your spiritual nature and understanding about who you truly are. This is where you get to actually be or not be. And once you are in the position of deciding, well, I'm going to be, now I can do and have. Whereas everything else, to me, guns are a physical answer to a spiritual psychosis. So let's flip that one over. Let's solve the spiritual psychosis, and no guns will ever need to exist. It's pretty simple. You take all the guns down, right? So.
Yeah, the physical may be equal to the spiritual, but it is where the spiritual is where it starts. There's a starting point to it all as well. So, and that's natural law just as much. Every time something I'm thinking, is this worth focusing on or not, I'll just pull out what I learned from Mark anyway, is this natural law. And a gun is human law. And that's all I need to know. It is a tool to give a human the possibility to end or harm a life. Therefore, it is automatically unlawful and has no place. Done. And screw the rest. Psychobabble. Excuses just to have an ego with a weapon. Because the ego controls a gun, not the soul. Soul doesn't need one. It doesn't die. So who are you going to kill?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Lisa. I know who. No, Lisa's been in my contacts for quite a while. Lisa Vunk. Yeah. She contacted me ages ago. So this is not in the last month. No, sorry, Lisa. No, I'm not. I can't bring you in. You hung up. So knock yourself out. I can't do that. I've already got 2 in my call, and I can't do 4. Forget it. Not interested. But anyway, what did she write to me? Only one word: pussy with a big heart. So I don't know. Is that mature? Like seriously? But anyway, yeah. This is mindless ego psychobabble. And I'm just not interested in it. I'm not gonna play this game with people. So go and play in the kindergarten playground. Knock yourselves out. I'm done. Sorry, I've been through enough. I'd like to see my children again. I'd like to have a lot of things back that were taken from me because of exactly what I've been trying to tell people. Because of the contract that is the name. It's your soul contract. That frequency inside your head, the one that only you can hear, is your true name. I said this years ago. That's your true name. Now go ahead, tell somebody what it is. You can't. And no one else can ever know it. This is why the name of God is unknowable. The way of God, you, is unknowable. And when we give it up into a physical attribute because we consent to it, yes, it was done through ignorance. This is why we had to wake up, because drip by drip, this has been cast over us. We're awake now, and we're not going to get into the pussy matches and all the rest of it, the crap that goes on. I've been there. You guys have heard me rant. I got over it. It's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. So here it is. You want to break every physical contract here. Just do it in your mind, because that's the only place you can do it. That sound that you hear in the very quiet. This is why you have to get deep and dark and silent, because only then will you hear that most beautiful tone that you've heard all along. That's you. That's the true you. That's your name. No one can ever know that. No, and you cannot speak it. So when someone asks you, are you Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so? The only answer you have now, and you're standing in complete universal truth when you say it, is no. Walk away. Your shields are up at that point. And the likelihood of you ever getting asked again for this existence, pretty much zero. Depends how strong you are and how much you actually believe that you are a part of all creation. Created in the image of all creation. You're perfect. I know this. And I hope that wasn't us losing the call. Can you guys still hear me?
Oh, yeah, Kate.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back and thank Amy for being the voice of reason, and Bindi and so many of you guys out there. I do get it. And it was, like tonight, I got to tell you, I have no idea what she's talking about. I have no idea where she's going. Yes, I know Arthur. Yes, I was staying there. But I'm not there now. I'm here.
Oh, how it works. Under the bridge? Gone.
You know, and I don't have secret groups on Skype. Sorry. We have 2 rooms that we operate in, that I set up, and when they're both full again, I will do another one. But one's called the Green Room, and that was the one that was filled, and the Lighthouse. A couple other minor groups, but they're just discussion, like personal shit, whatever. Right?
Yeah. But let's not analyze drama to like screaming at the television. Yeah. I thought Mark's contribution to the table was absolutely breathtakingly awesome, and that there are gradients in how people respond to awakening or quickening or whatever you want to call it, label it. it's all good. It's all there for a reason, and I personally don't support the gun thing, but that is just me and my angle, and his angle is obviously stooled on experience, where ego is still attached. That's good. I've got that kind of stuff too, only in a different area, so it's pretty much all mirror. And it gave me another hard look to look at what he was saying, because I do believe the two pillars of the feminine, the masculine, and I also see that in us women, we need to heal the wounded masculine, and the men have to. It is a good idea to heal the wounded feminine, because what does the wounded feminine do? Lash out and bitch. What does the wounded masculine do? Lash out, bitch, and shoot. So it's all more of the same. It's unbalanced, and we've all got a fuckload of it. So mirror, or cop out.
Exactly. And I love when people talk about, well, I don't have an ego, or it's my ego. Really? I have an incredibly powerful, well-trained, dangerous ego that operates on my command now.
Exactly.
I don't operate on it. That's the difference.
Yeah. So exactly what I said this afternoon to someone. I said, it's not that my ego is less, it has even become more dangerous, because don't forget the knowledge and the wisdom that I'm gaining. If I use that to ill will, ergo with my ego, it is fucking dangerous. I can cut anybody down within a second, but do I do that? No.
Can I prove this theory? It's not a theory, it's a fact. Here, Bindi, I'm going to prove what you just said absolutely true. If you want to catch a serial killer, you have to think like one, not be one. Okay. If you want to take down an ego, you must use one, not be one. There's a big difference. It's black and white. And this is the part that when people get that, when they finally get that, then they've stepped over into the full spiritual, and they can see both worlds equally at the same time. You get real anagogic real quick, and you get really cool downloads. I can only imagine what it could have been like, 2 years ago when when the ego had a really good grip on me, But I figured out what it was, and I stepped over, and it's like, oh, night and day. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. And there's a big difference between having a growth spurt or a blip or whatever, a spasm, whatever you want to call it, because you're training your emotional muscles and your mind to become an adult. And there is program. And program is a stubborn repeat that cannot hear anything that is thrown at it or said to it. It just keeps repeating. It'll find anything to hook on to return to the same repeat. We've just heard enough of that.
Yes.
The growth spurt is different. It'll be more humorous, or somebody will think, whoa, I'm going to go away and think about this for a bit. There's always a difference. It feels different. And, we deal with both of them here.
Yeah, and the ego, keep this in mind, guys. The ego is that one thing that makes you want to talk over everybody else to get your point heard. And this is one of the reasons why, I think it was Sunday night, I get to a point where if I can't even finish a sentence and people are jumping in on top of that all the time, I just go, I'm not running away. I just don't have time for it. So until that energy decides to dissipate itself, and thank you, Bindi, for taking over that night. It's just nice to have a fallback and go, cool, I'm just going to go smoke a bowl, because I really don't want to have to play this game tonight, because I play it too many nights. I play it every night that I have to remind people to mute their mics. I have to replay it every time when people are jumping in and stepping all over each other. I got to keep doing that, and eventually everyone's going to get it, and they're going to go, and there will be silence, like you've never heard before, just like that.
May the day come fast.
Like I said, for me, the only answer that I will ever accept now is okay, because at that point, someone has actually heard what I said without the left brain going, chitter, chatter, chitter, look how clever I am, I'm going to top that with this. And at which point, I know when you say, okay, I heard you, Kate, and that's why I'll say to you, okay. Because I'll take the time now to ponder what your words matter that much to me that I will take the time to ponder them. If my words matter, then so do yours. And it's when we don't have that tool working, that's when the ego is in control. So it's a good marker, it's a good check. So anytime you feel that urge, that's ego trying to override your helm. So get a grip on that tricky little bastard, give it a smack on the ass, and tell it to sit like good Fluffy here. 3 heads, 3 bows, nice 3 wagging tails, and a human leg or something. It's all good to me, baby. It's all good. And then that's what you do at the end of it all. You just start to laugh. And you see the cosmic joke, and then how serious everyone is taking everything. And it's like, oh my God, we're not going to go to that mall again, are we? I've already shopped there. There's nothing new. And I mean that with a K, by the way.
Okay, that's something I'm just realizing is important is to, a lot of times we're looking at history and we're looking at information about how the system was, and it's good to tune into other points of consciousness to see where it's at. Otherwise,
you'll miss the contrast.
Yeah.
You will miss the contrast. Now, we got about a minute and a half left here, guys. Guaranteed tomorrow night's going to be an awesome event. Again, and let's just stay the course here. We have got the high ground. There is no question or doubt in my mind. Hasn't been for a while. I've known this for a while. We have the high ground. All we need to do is maintain this dominant frequency. Do not get pulled down. Resist the urge to get pulled down or pulled into some sort of drama of any kind. Like that would, and again, for me, I just have to hand out enough rope to show the drama from some people, and that's fine. I have no issues with anyone. And I would find it surprising if I did write someone's name when making a comment. And if I did, you've really got something you need to look at. That, because I'm not going to do that otherwise, because I always speak third party. Right? How many times have you heard me say that to people? But, Michael, you have a show in the morning, do you not? Or is it Friday?
It's Friday, Kate.
Okay, good. So we got tomorrow night, and of course, Michael on Friday morning, back again Friday night. You can't miss this table, babies. It's actually 10, 11 shows a week between Michael and myself, and 12 some weeks, depending. Okay? Got enough? We got a table, baby, and thank you, Amy. It is a tough call. When I think about what it cost me to get to this table right now, I would be surprised if anyone would pay that. No one has to now. It's already paid. This is my point. The feast is at the table. The wine is open. The cutlery's out. The finest finery of a cornucopia of all abundance is there. I've been waiting for you. But here's another one. Just came in from Christian Mann on Facebook. Seeing as we're going to be talking about how to dispel stuff, I'm sure. So here's the magic. Kate just ran into an ex-Australian. So not only Holland, Canada, this is the same thing around the planet. Kate just ran into an ex-Australian federal cop, had a nice chat about our work, i.e. the legal name, the birth certificate, and you totally agreed on every point. He couldn't hold eye contact with me and got very uneasy the whole way through the conversation. I gave him the attention all police agents. That's a document. I've been posting that around again. And he verified everything. I know it's truth, but it was such a rush talking with him. He was honest and a joy to talk to. Just thought I'd share my experience with you. And love you, my friend. This is for everybody. And the crew who come to the Emerald Table and share your thoughts, experiences, really inspire me in every way. Thank you so much. I'm doing that every day. So how's that for out of the gate tonight, Mark? That should get you going.
That's really great. And this is what I really mean by doing the great work. That's what it is to do the great work, is to influence someone else's consciousness such that they are coming out of alignment with dark forces, out of alignment with opposition to natural law, and into alignment with the light, into alignment with the truth, and into alignment with natural law itself. And it is our role in this process to be the assistant of these very calcified individuals who are very rooted in ego and very rooted in identity and very rooted in identification with their job or with the roles they perform on a day-to-day basis. It's our job to step up and interface with those people to assist in that awakening process in them, which is it's very been stunted by fear. Their awakening is not as fast as ours, obviously. Many of them are still fully in the trance-like state of, the acceptance of all kinds of propaganda put out there by the state and by the control system. So it's so important that we understand our function in performing the great work is to interface with these types of individuals. And for those people who are doing this, I absolutely commend them, because they really understand what they really need to be doing if we're going to be changing things for the positive in our lives. For people who haven't begun doing this and haven't begun putting that information out to others, all I can say is you have to understand what the real nature of the great work is, and that is to step forward with the truth, to propagate it yourself, not just to know it. Knowing it's just the beginning. That's just the very beginning part of the process. It is to communicate it to other people such that they can become aware of it to the extent that you have become aware of it. That's what great work is, and that's what's going to push consciousness forward. And I understand why it's so unpopular. People don't want to put themselves out there. Many people are somewhat timid to speak to others. Many people don't think that they'll be able to break through and reach other people. Many people are afraid what other people might think of them. They're afraid what their family might think of them. They're afraid what their friends might think of them. That kind of fear is what's going to hold this dynamic of control in place. When we shed that fear, when we step into our true empowerment, which is our ability to influence the mind of other people. Other people did that with us. I wasn't just awakened on my own. If other people wouldn't have put information out there for me to take into myself, that I had an assistant in that process. Yes. Did I awaken myself? Yes, I did. Does everybody awaken themselves? Yes, they do. But that doesn't mean we don't have assistance in that process. And that process of assistance is by putting that information out there in a clear, concise, and easy to understand way so that other people can understand it and grasp it and then take it into themselves and then go forward and do their own work and their own research for themselves. So again, I commend anybody who is doing this great work, and to those who haven't begun it, I would just make the statement, in order to consider yourself truly awake and aware, you need to be putting information out there for other people. So get to work doing that.
That's the joy of this table, because you're talking to countless tens, hundreds of thousands that are actually doing that, and I get the joyous position of sitting back and getting all of these texts coming at me all the time. And this is why it's so absolutely critically important for people like you, Mark, to come to this table and say the exact same things that we're all saying. So thank you for that. And you're right. It has taken that empowerment upon self. No one's going to hold your hand, but I will walk with you shoulder to shoulder.
That's right. And you know what? When you start doing that art or whatever written or spoken medium that you're using, presentation medium, and we do that, we're answering call. That's what the universe is looking for, people to be the voice of truth. That's what our goal is. That's what our job is to do here if we want to step into a different reality, if we want to end the slavery system that has been going on planet Earth for hundreds of thousands of years, and we want to really free ourselves and make this world a place where freedom thrives and flourishes, then we have to be that voice of truth. The truth doesn't have a voice on its own. Of course, it's there. It's always going to be there. It always has been there. It can't be destroyed. But that doesn't mean it can't be suppressed by the voice of deception and lies, okay? Because they're speaking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, these dark forces. We need to step into our role as being the mouthpiece, the voice of truth itself, and propagate that word, that vibration out into the universe by speaking it to other people. When we do that, there is no force that can stand against us. People also constantly ask me, I get a lot of questions, aren't you worried people are going to be coming after you? Aren't you, fearful? That they're going to try to take a shot at you or something like that? Aren't you fearful that you're going to be harassed, or, maybe you'll come under some kind of electronic harassment or, mind control? And I'm like, Absolutely not. I don't fear that ever. I go to sleep at night and I sleep like a baby. I sleep so well because I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that I'm doing what's right in exposing the darkness to the people of this world. Therefore, that is my shield of protection. I'm not concerned in the slightest bit with whatever anybody can do to me in the physical domain. Not at all. Not one bit. And it doesn't weigh on my mind whatsoever because my conscience is clear. Because I know I'm stepping into my personal empowerment and I'm doing the will of creation by speaking the truth. And there is no greater shield of protection than that.
Absolutely. Had an example of that back on March 14th, where the Goonies, for the last time, I had to present all of what I've been talking about in one little, I guess about 20-minute to a half-hour segment where I was parked all by myself, my whole universe in my car, and of course no VINs in the car, expired plates. I carried no identification. I am what would be deemed a very high-profile target for the system. The list goes on. And 3 OPP, that's the Ontario Provincial Police. I ended up showing up along with a tow truck as always, and I was live on the air if you want to hear that, Mark, while I went through this. But it was within about a half an hour of them showing up till they completely dispersed without a word. They were gone. I had a little interaction with them and just told them, no, I'm not part of your dead jurisdiction. I'm actually of the living. So go and serve your masters. I'm my authority. Have a nice day. And that is exactly what you're talking about. This is about standing in your truth. And that's the only shield you have. It's the only shield you need. And I'm like you. I don't worry about chemtrails. I don't worry about smart meters or electronic interference or HARP or any of this crap. It's all fear porn illusion. And I know who I am, and only that which I agree can harm me can. So nothing harms me. That's the difference between a mortal meat stick and in the immortal mindset such as yours.
You know, this level of fear that people are still in is what's preventing them from becoming self-empowered and getting out there and sharing this information. I see it in so many people. It's a shame. I feel for them, but only themselves can break themselves out of that self-imposed prison of fear. You know, if you know what the truth is and you know the difference between right and wrong, the objective difference between right and wrong behavior, and you're stepping into that and you're living like that, you're not only talking that, but you're walking that talk, and you live like that in every moment of your life, then there is nothing to fear. You know, the only thing to fear is living in a vibration of immorality, of living in a vibration of wrong behavior, you know. So I tell people who are stuck in this modality of, oh, but, you know, if I stand up, I'll stand out, and that'll be, you know, I'll be a target. I'll be, you know, painted like a target at that point. I tell them that's the least of your concern. The greatest concern is not doing that. I tell people I would be much more fearful. Work. You will see that the universe comes to your assistance. I can't stress that enough. You will see how your own personal life will change for the better when you start putting the truth out there to other people. If you're just taking it in, and you're not sharing it back out with other people, there's an imbalance that's really taking place. It's a one-way directional flow. And in order for the universe really to give you energy and give you assistance, you need to turn that into a two-way flow. The information is still coming in, but you are outletting it and putting it back out there to other people. When you do that, the whole quality of your experience here will change. And you will see, it's like the universe really wants you to succeed at that point, because that's what it wants to happen. It wants people to understand this. That's the will of creation. That's what it wants to accomplish. And when we step into that slipstream, when we step into that flow, our lives become more effortless. Our lives become more empowered. You'll see it once you start doing it. You know, I could just tell you, there's nothing to it but to do it. Start to do it, and then you will see that change organically happen in your lives. I wouldn't lie to you. I'm telling you the truth. It happens when you start doing this work. Put it out there, you will see that change happen in your personal life, and it will always be for your greater benefit and the greater benefit of all other people. There's nothing that is more rewarding.
Oh, for sure. Now, I've got Mike, another host at CMR, on the table with us tonight. So I thought for just a bit of difference, people know already. I already told you I don't ask many questions. I just let people roll. But I've already mentioned to Mike that if he wants, I know there was a couple of things that he did want to look at
sure.
to jump in. So Michael, if you're there, please. I got the mic open. So rock and roll. Did I lose him? Oh, I think I just lost him. I did. All this intro stuff. Hang on. He's having some internet connection issues. So, he's dropped off the call. What I probably should do, actually, it might overload me on this end, is bring him in here. Anyway, we'll just continue on. Yeah, absolutely, Mark, and I can't agree more with. There's not enough trust in the universe. How do I want to put this? You can't trust it enough. And when you start stepping into it, I can look around at my own situation and ask a lot of questions. But my path is very particular in uncovering certain things. So for me, it is absolutely perfect, regardless of any perceived hardships or whatever, to go through, because all it did was, one, make me stronger. You're talking about assistance. Makes you stronger, make or break you. And it gave me a very unique insight from many different levels. And my joy comes when I see others finally seeing what it is we're talking about, seeing the magic, and then going, yeah, this is cool. I'm thinking, yeah, told ya. My new catchphrase, told ya. It's awesome.
It's as if we give ourselves permission to shine, other people see that, and then they step into that role. They step into that empowering energy. They say, hey, this person is doing it. There's an example, and that's really the best way to show people. The best way to show people is through example, of what we can be, of what we can become. So, there's no better way of doing that but leading that process. Don't wait for orders from headquarters, as I like to say. Don't wait for somebody else to be the leader. You be the leader. You go out there and put the information that you've come to understand out there for others to also understand. It's the best advice that I can give anybody. Whenever anybody says, now that I know all this stuff, what should I really be doing? I say, find your strength. Do you like to write? Do you like to speak? Do you like to present in front of other people? Do you think you have a good radio voice, or you could run a radio show good? Or do you like to write articles? Find your strength. In whatever media. Maybe you're a good artist and you want to put this out there in an artistic way. Maybe you're great at music. There are so many strengths that people have, and you could take this information and you could roll it into any of those forms of media, and then you just put it out there for other people. You're committing them, you reach them at a mental level, a psychological level, at an emotional level, through art, whatever, form of not stepping forward, of not standing up, of not speaking the truth completely unapologetically to as many other people as will receive it. I would be much more afraid of not doing that work than doing it. Doing it dispels all of that fear completely. So that's my advice to people, is there's nothing to it but to do it. Step up, stand out, step into your power. You have power. You're not powerless. They say, what can one human being, what can one individual do? A whole hell of a lot. That's what one individual can do. Look at how much work I have out there on the internet. Look at how many people are finally sitting up and starting to pay attention. I'm not saying they may fully get it at this point, or it's having a huge, gigantic effect on the world, but people are starting to pay attention. They're starting to listen and hear what's being said. And they're starting to do their own research on their own as a result of what many researchers have done. Because those single individuals said, I don't care about anything that can happen to me. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to speak out. I'm going to put this information out there with no fear. and the universe will take care of the rest. That's my recommendation, what people need to do. When you do that, you're doing the true great work. You're doing the will of creation, and as I've already said, that is the shield of protection that will protect you from any of the dark forces that are out, that happen to be out there.
Oh, exactly. That's one of the reasons why I make a concerted effort to get upset if the NSA and the FBI and the CIA and the KGB and the CSIS and all these, what's the other one? What's the Israeli joke outfit? Mossad. I get pissed off if I even have a notion of thinking that they're not listening to me, because how am I supposed to plant these seeds if they're not?
That's right. There you go. Hey, I say, I want them to listen in, because all they can gain as a result of listening to me is wisdom. That's it. So listen all you want. All you're going to hear is wisdom coming out of my mouth if I have anything to say about it, and I do. So I'm going to continue to speak, and eventually that will sink in. That they're not impenetrable when it comes to understanding the truth. That if some people keep hammering on it and constantly putting the truth up in their face for them to hear, eventually even the most calcified of egos will crack under that weight of truth. You know, I know I was deep in ego. I was a black-hearted Satanist in my past, in my youth. Okay? Priest within the Church of Satan, totally and completely encased in darkness and ego. And the truth cracked through all of that. Okay? So if that can happen with me, it can happen with any soul on this planet. The depth of ego that I was in, the depth of darkness that I was in, could barely even be described. People would not have wanted to know me then. That's all I can say. Well, you wouldn't have wanted to know me back then.
And Mark, that's exactly what I talk about with people in their individual walks, and that's one of the joys of having you at this table. Those that went the deepest and darkest through that which would teach them the most. Like, my game was very simple. When I started out a whole 4 years ago, my target was Rome, London, and Washington, D.C., and for me, Rome was the darkest of dark places, so I figured, well, if I'm going to pick a target, might as well make it worth my time. And, boy, what a walk it's been. We do have Michael back, by the way, so,
sure.
Michael, I know you had a couple of things that you wanted to talk to Mark about, and Bendy, you're there as well. You're a host as well.
Oh, I'm Mark. Ooh.
Hey,
Man,
Michael, how are you tonight?
If you haven't seen my email or posts, and I understand why you're full busy. No, I don't want to say busy. You're full with the great work, brother, and I'm much appreciated. You
should see my inbox in my email. You should see my Skype list on the left-hand side of my Skype. It's absolutely insane. It's great. It's great though, because that's telling me there's a lot of people that are really inquiring about a whole lot of things that I talk about, and it's great to see their interest. It's just very, very difficult for one individual to keep up with all of that communication. I try my best.
So what I want to say is I started co-hosting the show with Cade a couple times a week, and then we opened up a new platform 3 days a week, 2-3 hours. We're going Gaia Sophia Dreaming, and I'm straightforward with this, brother.
You're listening to Kate of Gaia on Critical Mass Radio. The game is up. Now, it's our turn.
Good evening. Welcome to Outside the Box. Wow. I've been waiting for this day for a while. It's been a while since I've had a chance to talk to this illustrious individual. And given the work that he's been doing, everyone at this table already knows who we have at this table tonight. And for that reason, I'm going to let him just roll and do his magic. And I will be opening up the mics maybe later. But you know how the table works, guys. We have the open forum every night, and when we have someone showing up at the table like Mark Passio, the game here is for him to get the word out. Because you know me, and I've said this countless times in the past. Mark may not have heard it, but there are very few people that I can't even say welcome at the table, but there's very few people that can come to this table and offer the cutting edge reality to the degree that people like Siobhan Boehmer or Mark Passio or Bill Donahue can. So this is one of the reasons why when they're at this table, I just want them to let go and roll. just before we there goes my phone. Just before we bring Mark in, though, I'll bring him in for sure right now. But we've been having crazy victory stories all week, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. So I thought we'd start off with a couple right out of the gate, just to set the mood for tonight. In terms of the system crumbling down around its own arsehole. That's the nature of this game, and that's what we're playing here. So on that, just a couple of things that I wanted to share. First off, I bring Bindi in. I talked to her and Michael just about a half hour before the show tonight, and what I want is for Bindi to share her story from today. So Bindi, first off, let me bring Mark in. Mark, how are you doing, my friend?
Kate, I'm doing great tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me back onto your show.
Oh, you're welcome. 7 nights a week. I already told you that. And you can ask anybody at this table, anybody that wants to show up, like you, Mark, or Siobhan, or Bill, or whatever. You come to this table. If you got things going on, use this platform as a means to catapult, and we get the word out. That's what we do here. So thank you so much for jumping at the table with us. It's just going to be a great night. I can feel it. And you're going to
absolutely.
You're going to love Bindi's story. So and there's one other one I want to share too. So okay. I shut up now. I'm just excited. Don't mind me. Go ahead, Bindi.
Hello, Kate. Hi, Mark. Just snatched this moment. Mark, thank you very much for all your work. I've just got one word for it: brilliant. And let's walk it, not just talk it. Speaking of walking it, I had a couple of talks with a police officer a while back. I think 6 weeks, 2 months ago maybe already. And he was just a regular beat cop doing his thing around Central Station in Rotterdam, where I live. And I slipped one of Kate's documents about the legal name and how the name fraud works and all that, translated in Dutch into his pocket, and an English one. And I was just jovial with him. I just pointed out his star on octagon on his cap and the one on his badge, and I said, well, they're all nice and shiny, aren't they? Yeah, you're the sun too, but it doesn't matter. I hope you have a nice day. And he just forgot to find me, because that was what he was about to do. But when I ran into him for, I think, having my bicycle in the wrong place. But anyway, he forgot all about that. And this morning I received an email from him that he's he resigned not too long after I met him the first time. And this morning he emailed me that 2 of his other colleagues have left the force as well, and they're trying to get another 4 or 5 friends/colleagues out, because they totally understand the fraud now, and they no longer wish to enable it, and they've opened a second-hand bike repair shop. So there's the new consciousness working for you.
Huge.
That is phenomenal. I mean, yeah. we need to hear more stories like that. That is progress, as far as I'm concerned. That's what we need a lot more of going on, for sure. Great job.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk, if Amy's listening, maybe we'll get Amy, an ex-law enforcement, to pop on. I met her for the first time yesterday during the afternoon show. I do 2 shows on Tuesday, and she's ex-law enforcement, and the story that she shared was just, God, like I told her, it's about fucking time you showed up.